Chapter 3953. Thank you for saving our lives. The white-haired old woman bowed to the old poison again. You're still thanking me? Logically speaking, I've tortured you for so long. Shouldn't you blame me in your hearts? This surprised the old poison. How would I dare to blame you? We only have ourselves to blame. The white-haired old woman smiled bitterly. This old poison was Qin Feiyang's man. Moreover, back then in the hell, the old poison, Li Zhongsheng, and Xiao Shui had fought with the Dragon King and the other two. Their strength was extremely terrifying. They even had their own sovereign divine weapon. Let alone torturing them, even if they killed them, they wouldn't have the guts to blame them. In short, they couldn't afford to offend them. At this point, given the current situation of the Feng people, if they didn't admit defeat, they would die. Wenchang, say something. The other old antiques finally recovered and looked at Huo Wenchang. Although they didn't say much, their eyes were full of pleading. Their only hope was Huo Wenchang. If even he wasn't willing to help, the Feng people would really be on the road to death. At the scene, there was dead silence. Huo Wenchang glanced at the group of people with a complicated expression. He hated these people. He was selfish and constantly made his daughter suffer grievances. But at the same time, family, friendship, kinship, he couldn't let it go. After all, he was born in the Feng people. He was also the patriarch of the Fire Phoenix clan. If he really didn't care and watched the Feng people fend for themselves, he couldn't bear it. Sigh. After a long time, Huo Wenchang sighed and turned to look at Qin Feiyang, saying apologetically, "Nephew, I'm really sorry. I've always caused you trouble." The meaning of these words was very obvious. He wanted Qin Feiyang to help find a place to settle down. The white-haired old woman and the others naturally understood. A trace of joy appeared on their faces as they looked at Qin Feiyang expectantly. "Uncle, you're being too polite." Qin Feiyang looked at Huo Wenchang and smiled faintly. After pondering for a while, he shook his head and said, "But it's not easy to find a safe place for the Feng people now." The group of old antiques immediately became nervous. First, your phoenix nest has now become the home of the dragons. You also know the strength of Long Chen and his sister. I reckon that even I might not be a match for Long Chen, not to mention his father. I don't need to say more about Ice Dragon's strength. No one can afford to offend him. The land of Yin demons is the land of the blood demon race. I can't chase the blood demon race away for a Feng people. As for the Qilin clan, I believe that they don't want to have too much to do with the Feng people now. Other than that, there are 4 continents and the Heavenly Cloud Sea. Don't even think about the Heavenly Cloud Sea. I know my elder brother's personality too well. He would never allow you Feng people to enter the Heavenly Cloud Sea. As for the 4 continents, to be honest, I'm very worried about letting the Feng people enter the 4 continents. Qin Feiyang said. Don't worry. We won't do anything rash. We just want to have a place to stay. The white-haired old woman hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang and said. It's not that I don't believe you. You know better than I do what kind of people you phoenixes are. All of them have their eyes on the top of their heads. In their eyes, the human race is like an ant. Perhaps now, you will be honest. But as time passes, I'm sure that you will slowly reveal your true nature. Qin Feiyang said. We won't. I promise to restrain my clansmen. If in the future, there is really a clansman who dares to run to the human race to harm them, you don't need to do anything. I will kill him myself. The white-haired old woman vowed. It wasn't easy to find a way out for the Feng people. How could she miss it so easily? Fire Dance snorted coldly. If such a thing really happens in the future, let alone me, even my father won't care about your life and death. Don't worry. Definitely not. The white-haired old woman's attitude was firm. I also promise. When we go back, we will set the clan rules. The Feng people will always be on good terms with the human race from now on. The white-haired old man also hurriedly promised. Clan rules? This idea is good. Frenzy nodded. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and looked at the white-haired old woman and Frenzy. He nodded and said, "Okay, I'll see how you perform first. You can go to the eastern continent. I will send a message to Elder Hua and ask him to bring you to the Kanglan Snow Mountain." Kanglan Snow Mountain? Frenzy was stunned and said suspiciously, "Isn't that the former territory of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance?" Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at the white-haired old woman and Frenzy. He smiled faintly and said, "Although the Kanglan Snow Mountain can't be compared to the former Phoenix Nest, it is enough for the Feng people to rest and recuperate." Thank you. Thank you very much. The Feng people will definitely remember your kindness forever. The two were extremely grateful. Hua Dahong and the others were also very happy. They finally had a place to stay. Qin Feiyang took out the divine sound transmission stone. Buzz. Soon. Elder Hua's shadow appeared. Elder Hua. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Elder Hua looked at Qin Feiyang and shook his head. Looking at the smile on your face, this old man knows that it's definitely not something good. Speak. Ha, Qin Feiyang laughed dryly. This old man knew him well. He asked, "Is the Kanglan Snow Mountain still empty?" Kanglan Snow Mountain? Elder Hua was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why are you suddenly asking about the Kanglan Snow Mountain?" It's like this. Qin Feiyang told him about the Feng people situation. What? You let the Feng people enter our eastern continent? Elder Hua immediately stood up, his face full of anger. Seeing this, the group of old antiques from the Feng people could not help but twitch their eyelids. If the Demon Palace did not agree, they would be in a desperate situation again. Don't be angry. Qin Feiyang hurriedly comforted him. How can this old man not be angry? It's not like you don't know the character of the Feng people. If we let them enter the eastern continent, won't our eastern continent be turned upside down by them? We'll talk about it later. It wasn't easy for us to drive the Rogue Cultivator Alliance away. I don't want another force stronger than the Rogue Cultivator Alliance to come and snatch resources and territory from our Demon Palace. Elder Hua snorted coldly. Don't worry. The Feng people will definitely not snatch resources from your Demon Palace. Hearing this, the white-haired old woman hurriedly walked to Qin Feiyang's side and looked at Elder Hua. You have nowhere to go now. Of course, it's fine. But what about in the future? Elder Hua sneered. Definitely not in the future. I swear. The Feng people will live in seclusion in the Kanglan Snow Mountain from now on. We will not interfere with the affairs of the eastern continent. Elder Hua, as you said, the Feng people have nowhere to go. No matter what, I beg you to give us a way out. The white-haired old woman bowed and begged. Elder Hua frowned. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, You decide. If you really don't want to, I'll find another way. Brat, you're always causing trouble for me. Elder Hua glared at Qin Feiyang. He lowered his head and pondered for a moment. Then, he looked at the white-haired old woman and said, Since Qin Feiyang is pleading for you, it's not impossible for you to enter the eastern continent. The white-haired old woman's face suddenly had a trace of joy. Don't be happy too early. I have a condition. Elder Hua said expressionlessly. Please say it. She would agree even if there were 100 conditions, let alone one. From now on, the Feng people must follow the lead of the Demon Hall in the eastern continent. In other words, you have to do whatever the Demon Hall asks you to do. Moreover, if the Demon Hall is in trouble, the Feng people must help immediately. You have to prioritize the interests of the Demon Hall. You have to protect the entire Eastern continent together with the Demon Hall. As long as you agree, you can go to the Kanglan Snow Mountain now. Elder Hua said. The Demon Hall is the master of the Eastern continent. It's not a problem for us to listen to you. But we have to do whatever you ask us to do. Isn't this a little? The white-haired old woman hesitated. Don't worry. The Demon Hall will not let you die. And we won't do anything overboard to you just because Qin Feiyang and the others are backing our Devil Palace. This old man simply wants to express his attitude. Elder Hua said. If that's the case, the white-haired old woman looked at the white-haired old man, Hua Dahong, and the others. All of them nodded helplessly. Did they have a choice now? All right. After getting everyone's agreement, the white-haired old woman looked at Elder Hua and nodded. I promise you that the Feng people will be the protectors of the Demon Hall in the future. Wrong. You don't have to protect the Demon Hall. You have to protect all the living beings in the Eastern continent. Elder Hua shook his head. I understand. The white-haired old woman nodded. All right. After the Rogue Cultivator Alliance left, the Kanglan Snow Mountain has been empty. You can go there directly. Elder Hua said. Thank you. The white-haired old woman bowed. Elder Hua waved his hand and looked at Qin Feiyang. Kid, I allowed them to enter the Eastern continent because of you. You have to take responsibility. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Elder Hua rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang. Just as he was about to turn off the divine sound stone, he suddenly slapped his head and said, There's something. Seeing Elder Hua hesitate, Qin Feiyang was speechless. If there's anything, just say it. Why are you being so polite with me? Elder Hua laughed and said, Indeed, there's no need to be polite with you. I just want to ask when you guys are free to come to the Demon Hall. Why? Madman was suspicious. It's because of the younger generation of the Demon Hall. I want you guys to take some time to come over and explain the mysteries of the ultimate meaning to them. It'll help them grow. Look, among the younger generation of the Sky Cloud realm, other than you guys, there's Longchen siblings, Li Feng, Hua Wu, Yun Xiang, and the masked Shura. There aren't many that can be brought to the table. Elder Hua sighed. It's not that there aren't many, but there isn't even one. Madman bared his teeth. You're amazing. Elder Hua glared at him. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and nodded. That's a good thing. However, we don't have many ultimate meanings. Why not? You guys have a lot of face. You can ask the Feather Emperor, Xue Zhu, Long Chen, and Long Qin for help. As long as you can ask them, it'll be enough. Elder Hua laughed. Ask Long Qin. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Chapter 3954. This is a good thing for the Sky Cloud realm. And at that time, I hope you can also go to the western, northern, and southern continents. If you don't have this ability, this old man will definitely not make this request. But now that you all have this ability, since you have the ability to help the Sky Cloud realm, then try your best to help. Elder Hua said. Okay. Let's make the arrangements. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then I'll wait for your good news. Elder Hua chuckled and turned off the sound transmission god stone. Sure enough, the stronger you are, the greater the responsibility. Madman shook his head and sighed. Thinking back to how comfortable it was in the Sky Cloud realm. He didn't have to care about anything. But now. One moment he was doing something about the divine treasures, and the next moment he was teaching. If this continued, how could he have a peaceful life? Qin Feiyang also had a trace of helplessness on his face. He put away the sound transmission god stone and looked at the white-haired old woman and the others. You all also bring your clansmen and go to the Azure Wave Snow Mountain. Thank you. The white-haired old woman thanked him again. Hua Dahong looked at Hua Wu and her father with eyes full of guilt and asked, Wen Chang, are you not going back with us? Hua Wu was silent. Hua Wen Chang looked at Hua Wu and Hua Dahong and said, I will go with you to the Azure Wave Snow Mountain to take a look. As for whether I will stay there or not, I will think about it. Okay. Hua Dahong nodded and looked at the silent Hua Wu. He couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Let's go. Hua Wenchang opened a space-time teleportation divine artifact and took the lead to walk in. Hua Dahong and the others followed. Soon, only Qin Feiyang and the others were left. Madman looked at Hua Wu and asked, You really don't want to go and take a look? I don't want to face them for the time being. Let's talk about it later. Hua Wu shook her head. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Now, let's discuss and see what ultimate profundities everyone has grasped. First, Hua Wu mastered the law of fire, the ultimate meaning of the law of cause and effect. Madman, the law of slaughter, law of thunder, law of destruction, and the ultimate meaning of spacetime law. Li Feng, law of slaughter, spacetime law. Masked Shura, the law of devouring. Long Chen, as far as he knew, was the law of spacetime. Long Qin, the law of time, the law of death, the law of cause and effect. Qi Shaoyun, law of destruction. The Feather Emperor had the law of nothingness, the law of sword, and the law of death. The Blood Ancestor had the laws of slaughter, death, and time. The White-Eyed Wolf and Yun Xiang were still in closed-door cultivation, but they had not come out yet. After careful calculation, many of the laws are duplicated. If you don't want to go to Longqin, then you have to ask the Blood Ancestor and the Feather Emperor. Other than Longqin, only the White-Eyed Wolf and the Blood Ancestor have mastered the law of time. The White-Eyed Wolf definitely won't be able to help now. Qin Feiyang said. I'm definitely not going to Longqin. I can't be bothered to look at her face. Madman snorted. In that case, senior brother, I'll have to trouble you with this. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Me? Madman was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. No. What about Li Feng? You can ask this kid to go. Madman frowned. Li Feng has mastered the law of slaughter and the law of time and space. You have both. Why would he go? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. What about you? Madman asked. I have mastered the law of life and death, the law of cause and effect, and the law of light. Needless to say, some reclusive old antiques have mastered the law of light. Not to mention the law of life and death. Even I haven't fully comprehended it. As for the law of cause and effect, don't you have fire dance? Qin Feiyang chuckled. Me? Fire dance looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. Thank you for your hard work. Besides, you're the princess of the Fire Phoenix clan. If you appear, everyone will definitely have a good impression of the Feng people in the future. This will help the Feng people develop in the eastern continent in the future. Qin Feiyang laughed dryly. You've already thought of a reason for me? Fire Dance's mouth twitched. Madman's face also darkened. He said angrily, You're the one who promised Elder Fire, but now you're throwing your responsibilities to him. Is there anyone like you? Many of the laws we have mastered are duplicates. There's no need for us to go together. You guys just have to work hard. I'll even have the Masked Azura help you. He has mastered the law of devour. Later, you guys go find the Feather Emperor and the Blood Ancestor. You must ask them to come out. It won't take a few days anyway. After saying that, Qin Feiyang immediately led Li Feng and Old Poison into the Black Tortoise world, leaving Fire Dance and Madman outside in a daze. Black Tortoise Worldly Feng looked at Qin Feiyang and chuckled. Fortunately, you didn't arrange for me to go. This is a good thing. There's no need to reject it so much. Qin Feiyang chuckled. It's a good thing, but I'm not that good myself. Why would I go and teach others? Just thinking about it makes me feel awkward. Li Feng smiled embarrassedly. Be more confident. After all, you're someone who has mastered two ultimate profound meanings. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He scanned the demon land and said loudly, Brother Azura, come here. Whoosh! Not long after. A black figure broke through the air. It was the masked Azura. Just like before, he was wearing a mask on his face. I say, what do you look like? Li Feng curiously looked at the masked Azura's face. Nonsense, of course I look like a human. The masked Azura helplessly glared at him. He then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, what's the matter? Senior Brother Madman and Fire Dance are waiting for you outside. They will tell you. Good luck. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a hint of craftiness as he sent the masked Azura out. I guess this guy is a little unhappy. Li Feng shook his head. Azure Wave Snow Mountain. Many years had passed, but this place was still a world of ice and snow. The snow was white, and the cold wind was bone-chilling. Buzz! Suddenly, space-time tunnels appeared. Countless people surged out. They were the clansmen of the Feng people. With such a big Feng people, there were naturally people who had comprehended the space-time laws. So cold. The people of the Fire Phoenix clan landed above the glacier. The first thing they felt was cold. Their bodies immediately released waves of Phoenix divine fire to dispel the cold air. Is it cold? However, the people of the Ice Phoenix clan felt very comfortable. As Ice Phoenixes, they liked this kind of world of ice and snow the most. Finally, a group of old antiques walked out and looked at the glacier. They couldn't help but smile. They had finally found a place to cultivate. Old ancestors, isn't this place a little small? It's not even 1/10 of our phoenix nest. Also, the illusion here is too bad. It doesn't matter to the ice phoenixes, but how can we fire phoenixes survive? Especially if we have to settle here for a long time? Some of the clansmen couldn't help but frown. Be content. This is the place. We risked our lives in exchange for this place. The old man said. To him, as long as there was a place to stay, he didn't ask for anything else. As for the environment, it could be changed. Just like the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, they set up a barrier around the Kanglan Snow Mountain to block the invasion of the wind and snow. Then, they buried the spirit veins and crystal veins of the Feng people underground and planted all kinds of medicinal herbs in the mountains. Soon, it would become full of vitality. I think this place is not bad. It's remote and no one will disturb us. The Feng people can rest here peacefully. Everyone, let's move. The white-haired old woman smiled. The elders of the two clans immediately began to move. The elders of the three major clans were weaker than the reclusive old antiques. Of course. They would definitely be powerful in the 4 continents. Thousands of elders moved out and entered the center of the Kanglan Snow Mountain. Some took out the spirit veins and crystal veins, and some opened up caves. They were very busy. Wenchang, thank you. The group of old antiques looked at this scene and were quite gratified. Then, they looked at Huo Wenchang gratefully. No need. I'm a member of the Feng people. This is my duty. Huo Wenchang waved his hand. The group of people couldn't help but smile when they heard this. Wenchang, if you have the chance, persuade Wu-er. The Feng people can't do without her now. The white-haired old woman sighed. Although they had found a place to rest, if Fire Dance didn't return, the Feng people had almost no chance of rising again. They were even worse than the Demon Palace. At least the Demon Palace still had a sovereign divine weapon. Huo Wenchang lowered his head and didn't say anything. Wu Er's matter is not urgent. Besides, you're not Wu Er's character. Don't you understand? If the Feng people are really on the verge of death, she won't sit back and do nothing. As for whether she stays or goes, it's not very important, so let's respect her decision. The white-haired old man smiled. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. This was all self-inflicted. Hua Dahong rolled his eyes and looked at Huo Wenchang. He asked, I heard Qin Feiyang call you uncle just now. Yes. Huo Wenchang nodded. So you're very close now? Hua Dahong asked. What's wrong? Huo Wenchang was suspicious. He naturally had nothing to say to this father in the past. But now, there was already a gap in their hearts, and they weren't so close. This gap was difficult to eliminate in a short period of time. It would take time to slowly erase it. Since your relationship with Qin Feiyang is so good now, and Wu Er and the Golden-Winged Wolf King are also lovers, it can be said that you're even closer. Why don't you tell him when you want to give our Phoenix clan some miniature laws? Hua Dahong licked his face and smiled. Father. Huo Wenchang raised his eyebrows and said angrily, We've just found a place to settle down, and you're already scheming? No. I'm doing this for the good of my people. How can you call it scheming? Besides, isn't there a saying that goes like this? Keep the goodies within the family. Instead of giving the law miniatures to others, why don't you give it to us? Hua Dahong said. The white-haired old woman and the others couldn't help but be tempted. An old antique said, There's also the time array. Even the Demon Palace has 5,000 years of time in a day. The Feng people can't not have it. Impossible. If you want to find Qin Feiyang, go find him yourself. I'm not that thick-skinned. With that, Huo Wenchang turned around and left. Where are you going? Hua Dahong hurriedly shouted. I'm annoyed. I'm going to relax. Huo Wenchang said without turning his head. This child, Hua Dahong looked at Huo Wenchang's back with dissatisfaction. The white-haired old woman looked at Hua Dahong and sighed. I say, you're too hasty. Isn't this old man also thinking for the Feng people? Hua Dahong said angrily. I know. But Qin Feiyang and the others don't have a good impression of us at all. If you mention these things again, aren't you just asking for trouble? What if it causes their disgust? Actually, what we should do now is to quickly matchmake Wu Er and the Golden-Winged Wolf King. Only when the two of them get married will the Feng people and Qin Feiyang be a true family. At that time, we don't need to say anything. He will take the initiative to give us the law miniatures, let alone something as trivial as the time array. The white-haired old woman shook her head. That's right. Why didn't I think of this? Hua Dahong slapped his head and immediately pondered in his heart. Chapter 3955. Half a month passed. A piece of news that shocked the eastern continent arrived. Madman, Fire Dance, and the masked Shura were going to teach the Tao in the demonic palace. Even the leaders of the human race, the Feather Emperor and the Blood Ancestor, would come personally. As soon as this news came out, the entire eastern continent immediately fell into an uproar, and it quickly spread to the western continent, the northern continent, the southern continent, and the various forbidden zones. For a time, Qin Feiyang kept receiving messages from various places. For example, the Alliance Master, He Zhongtian, and the Heavenly Palace Master. It meant that they couldn't just take care of the eastern continent, but also the western continent, the southern continent, and the northern continent. Regarding this, Qin Feiyang also patiently explained. After explaining in the eastern continent, he would immediately go to the other 3 continents. Only then did the Alliance Master and the others heave a sigh of relief. As for the 3 major races, they naturally wouldn't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. On the day that Madman and the others taught the Tao in the demonic palace, the reclusive old antiques of the 3 major races came one after another. There were even people who were responsible for recording with the divine voice stone. They recorded the entire process and naturally took it back to show it to the juniors of the clan. Until now. Only then did everyone know that the Feng people had already moved into the Kanglan Snow Mountain. The Feng people must have obtained the permission of Qin Feiyang and the others to move into the Kanglan Snow Mountain. Thinking about it, it was really pitiful. They were originally the masters of a forbidden zone, but now they could only stay in a corner and had to listen to the demonic palace. It could be said that they had fallen from heaven to hell. But for the Feng people, it was indeed not easy to find a place to stay. The most important thing was, the Feng people moved into the Kanglan Snow Mountain, which meant that their relationship with Qin Feiyang and the others had begun to ease. Then everyone would naturally think that Qin Feiyang and the others were already the Feng people's backing. This way, no one would dare to look down on the Feng people. Even the dragons and Kirans wouldn't dare to do anything to the Feng people in the future. This was a very realistic thing. When you were down and out, everyone wanted to bully you. But once they found out that you had backing, their attitude would immediately change 180 degrees. On the same day, the sky above the demonic palace was simply a sea of people. It was densely packed. Although there were many people, it was very quiet. Only the voices of Madman and the others could be heard. It was only at this moment that everyone learned that there was another person called the Mas de Jura. The Mas de Jura was no stranger to the southern continent and the 3 great races. However, not many people in the eastern continent had heard of the Mas de Jura. Regardless of whether it was Feng Zi's group of 3 or the Feather Emperor's group of 2, they were all doing their best to explain. Moreover, it wasn't just the ultimate profundity, the other laws and profundities were also explained without reservation. Those with good comprehension abilities would be able to gain something on the spot. For example, some young people. After listening, they entered a state of comprehension. There were even some who entered a state of sudden enlightenment, and soon comprehended the 5th profound or supreme profound. Anyway, this lecture had directly raised the overall strength of the eastern continent by a large margin. For the whole day. When it was over, everyone immediately went home to meditate in seclusion. Next, Madman and the others then headed to the western continent, southern continent, and northern continent. This kept them very busy. However, every time he saw everyone's expectant and respectful gazes, as well as some people directly entering a state of epiphany after listening to their explanations, he felt a great sense of accomplishment in his heart. The last stop was the heavenly cloud sea. This was arranged by Little Rabbit. Since you all ran to explain to the creatures of the 4 continents, you definitely wouldn't forget the sea beasts of the heavenly cloud sea. On the same day, Heavenly Cloud Island. The sea beasts of the various sea regions swarmed over. The Sea Lion Emperor and the other great beast emperors, as well as the great beasts of the land of buried gods, all gathered on Heavenly Cloud Island. Within a radius of hundreds of millions of miles, there were sea beasts everywhere. This scene was truly unprecedented. From start to finish, Madman and the others were busy for a month. A month passed. The land of buried gods was unexpectedly peaceful. No one from the divine kingdom came to the heavenly cloud realm again. For the heavenly cloud realm, this was of course a good thing. Who didn't want peaceful days? And now, everyone also cherished every day under peace. There was an old saying that said it well. You can only cherish it after you lose it. In the past, before the divine kingdom arrived, they could actually enjoy a peaceful life every day. But no one. There was constant internal strife and infighting. It could be said that there wasn't a day of peace. There was killing every moment. Now, when the divine kingdom arrived, everyone suddenly realized that a peaceful life was so precious. Black Tortoise Realm. Madman, Fire Dance, Qin Feiyang, and Li Feng sat in the tea garden. I'm so busy. Madman drank wine in big mouthfuls and didn't forget to glare fiercely at Qin Feiyang. Isn't there a saying like this? The capable do more work. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Stop flattering me. Madman snorted coldly. Li Feng suspiciously asked, why didn't the Master Jura come back? He stayed on Sea Lion Island with the people of the land of buried gods. Madman waved his hand. Speaking of which, how many people are there in the land of buried gods? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Not many. Apart from the 10 great beasts, there are only a dozen or so remaining subordinates of the human emperor. Madman shook his head and sighed. After recovering the memories of his previous life, whenever he recalled the battle back then, he couldn't help but feel sad. How strong are they? Qin Feiyang asked. They're all okay. Each of them has grasped an ultimate profound. Although it's only the ultimate profound of ordinary laws, I believe that after this lesson, their cultivation will definitely improve. Not only the land of buried gods, but also the other races. Madman smiled with relief. It seems that Elder Fire's suggestion is right. However, they also need time to grow. For now, we still need to stand in front and protect them. Qin Feiyang said. Has there been any movement from the Divine Kingdom in this month? Madman asked. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the scene of the core area appeared. He shook his head and said, during this period, they've been quite obedient. None of them came to cause trouble. Although we've had the upper hand in these few confrontations, we can't let our guard down. Because now, they have basically figured out our strength. When the next time the geniuses of the Divine Kingdom descend, they will definitely be fully prepared. Fire Dance reminded. I think so too. Whether it's us or Long Chen's group, our strength has been exposed. They will definitely focus on us. However, when the next time comes, Qin Feiyang stopped here and turned to look at the ancient castle. He smiled and said, next time, there will be a surprise for them. Yun Xiang? Madman asked. Yes. When Yun Xiang integrates 3 inheritances, he will have grasped the ultimate profound of the 4 strongest laws. His strength will be stronger than ours. There's also the white-eyed wolf. His battle soul has only revealed the ability to deprive one's cultivation. The people of the Divine Kingdom still don't know about the 2 abilities. When the time comes, he will naturally be able to catch them off guard. And now, the white-eyed wolf is on Sky Cloud Island. Who knows what kind of fortune he has obtained? Maybe when he comes out, his strength will soar by a lot. Qin Feiyang laughed. Makes sense. Madman nodded and drank a mouthful of wine before asking, then, how is your comprehension of the ultimate profound of the law of life and death? Sigh. Speaking of this, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but sigh. No gains? Madman frowned. It's not that I didn't gain anything. However, I still can't figure out what the Divine King of Primal Chaos imparted to me. I can feel that this is a very crucial point. As long as I can figure it out, I should be able to comprehend the ultimate profound. Qin Feiyang said. Then tell us, what is the problem that has puzzled you? As the saying goes, 3 heads are better than Zhuge Liang. We will help you think about it. Fire Dance smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang was silent for a moment before looking at the 3 of them and said, in one sentence, put death on the ground and fight to live. Just this sentence has puzzled you for so long? Madman was stunned. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. These words were a bit of a blow. Fire Dance glanced at the madman and pondered, although this sentence is easy to understand, it's nothing more than death before life. However, it's still the ultimate profundity of the law of life and death. We can't treat it with ordinary eyes. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang looked at Madman and said, "See, this is the performance of wisdom." Madman's face was full of disdain. After thinking for a while, he laughed. "How about this? I will kill you now and see what kind of reaction you will have after you die." Qin Feiyang's face suddenly turned black. Fire Dance and Li Feng were also speechless. Although it was put death on the ground and fight to live, it didn't mean that one would really die. Who could think of such a rotten idea? Moreover, who would have the courage to face death? Moreover, it was an uncertain factor. What are you afraid of? At most, you will reincarnate like me and be a hero in your next life. Madman bared his teeth. Get lost. Qin Feiyang stared at him speechlessly. The more you say, the more unreliable it is. Fire Dance shook her head and smiled bitterly. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I feel that the divine king of primal chaos doesn't want you to really die." "I think so too." Li Feng nodded in agreement. After pondering for a while, he said, "If death can really comprehend the ultimate profound, then why didn't the divine king of primal chaos die? What the divine king of primal chaos wants to express should be something else." Madman glanced at Li Feng and Fire Dance and said, "After talking for so long, it's the same as not saying anything." After drinking a mouthful of wine, Madman said, "Actually, I thought of a possibility." "What?" The three looked at him. "Since it is a law, it must be related to the law. Is the divine king of primal chaos trying to express that he wants to strip away all the laws you have now? Stripping away all the laws you have now, this is actually a way to put death on the ground and fight to live." Madman frowned. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other. None of them had ever thought of this point. Madman chuckled and said, "If you really want to do this, then remember to give me your law of cause and effect." Qin Feiyang looked at Madman in shock. He really wanted to slap him. After all this time. It turned out that he wanted to inherit his inheritance. What a bad idea. Chapter 3956. There's not a single word coming out of your mouth. Fire Dance also looked at Madman helplessly. It's the truth. Anyway, I have an intuition. If old Qin wants to comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, he will have to experience a catastrophe that ordinary people can't bear. Madman said with a gloating smile. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. He was really unlucky to have such a brother. Fire Dance said, "Why don't you ignore the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death and comprehend the other ultimate meanings first? Little girl, you don't understand. If I didn't fuse with the source of all evil, he would have already begun to comprehend the other ultimate meanings. Because I didn't fuse with the source of all evil, our strength is about the same. But now, I can crush the ultimate meaning with one punch. Seeing how powerful I am, although he didn't say it out loud, he must be secretly competing with me in his heart. So, he doesn't have the mood to comprehend the other ultimate meanings at all." Madman laughed proudly. "You know the most?" Qin Feiyang's face was dark. "You dare say that you don't think so?" Madman laughed loudly. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and lowered his head to drink tea to hide the embarrassment on his face. "You two, those who don't know would think that you two are destined enemies." Fire Dance shook her head, her face full of helplessness. She couldn't figure it out. They were all on the same side, what was there to compete with? But that was the truth. Whether it was Qin Feiyang, Madman, or White-Eyed Wolf, they could lose to others, but they absolutely couldn't lose to each other. It was precisely because of this that their strength had never been left behind. But now, Madman's strength suddenly soared after fusing with the source of all evil. Whether it was Qin Feiyang or White-Eyed Wolf, they were a little anxious in the face of this sudden change. So, Qin Feiyang was so eager to comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death. On the one hand, it was to compete with the lunatic. On the other hand, it was also because of the situation back then. Only by comprehending the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death could he truly have the ability to contend against the divine kingdom. It was because of his impatience that Qin Feiyang was unable to calm down. No. Qin Feiyang shook his head. He looked at Feng Zi and the other two and said, "I've been a bit impatient recently. I need to go out for a walk." On the path of cultivation, the most important thing was the state of mind. It would be fine for a short period of time, but as time went on, his mental state would definitely be affected. At that time, he might fall into a dead end. "Do you need us to accompany you?" Madman smirked. "You're not a beauty." Qin Feiyang glared at him and coldly snorted, "Don't be complacent. My law of life and death's ultimate profundity might be even stronger than the root of all evil. You'd better work hard and comprehend the ultimate profundity of the law of death." "You don't say." "This time, I've also gained a lot from imparting the Tao. Especially when the blood ancestor was explaining the ultimate profundity of the law of death. After listening carefully, I actually managed to comprehend a bit." Madman chuckled. "All right, let's see if you comprehend the ultimate profundity of the law of death first, or if I comprehend the ultimate profundity of the law of life and death first. There's more. Don't forget one important thing. As long as I comprehend the ultimate profundity of the law of life and death, it's equivalent to grasping the ultimate profundity of the law of death and the law of life at the same time." Qin Feiyang laughed and got up to leave the Black Tortoise realm alone. Madman was stunned and his expression became somewhat unsightly. In his moment of complacency, he had neglected this matter. That's right. Once Qin Feiyang comprehended the ultimate profundity of the law of life and death, the law of death and the law of life would also become ultimate profundities. This way, with the addition of the karma and light profundities, Qin Feiyang would have grasped 5 ultimate profundities, surpassing him. No. This old man has to go into seclusion. Madman drank the remaining wine in the jar in one go and said to Li Feng and Fire Dance. Then, he turned around and entered the castle without looking back. What kind of joke was this? He could lose to anyone but Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf. I really can't do anything to them. Fire Dance shook her head and smiled. Actually, this is also good because they can maintain their fighting spirit at any time. However, we have to work hard. Otherwise, we will be their hindrance sooner or later. To be honest, I really miss the time in the Sky Bell Divine Treasury. Li Feng sighed. If they could stay in the Sky Bell Divine Treasury and devour the souls of the dead, they would not need to comprehend the ultimate profundity. The corner of Fire Dance's mouth twitched and she said speechlessly, "You are just like Brother Wolf, thinking of reaping without sowing." Ha! Sister-in-law, don't joke. Li Feng laughed dryly. Outside. Land of Buried Gods. Qin Feiyang walked on foot. He had no destination and could not find it. In any case, he just walked wherever he went. After a period of time, he walked out of the land of buried gods and changed his appearance. He concealed his identity and entered the northern continent like a mortal. After the teachings of Madman and the others, the entire Sky Cloud realm set off a frenzy of cultivation. Because, anyone who had the slightest ambition would not miss such a good opportunity. So now, the number of pedestrians on the streets of the various cities had decreased by more than half. After spending several years, he traveled to every corner of the northern continent, saw all kinds of things in the world, and tasted the impermanence of human affairs. His heart finally settled down. Next, he entered the southern continent, eastern continent, and western continent. At this moment, he was like a passerby in the sky cloud realm. Sometimes he would stop to watch the battles and disputes of the mortal world, and sometimes he would stop to meditate in a certain place. Apart from the footprints he left behind, he did not leave anything behind. In the blink of an eye. 10 years passed in a hurry. 10 years. Because in these 10 years, the people of the divine kingdom did not appear again, and the sky cloud realm was completely peaceful. Everyone seemed to have almost forgotten the existence of the divine kingdom. 10 years passed. The strength of the various forces had also greatly increased. For example, places like the Demon Palace not only had rich resources, but also had a time array that lasted for 1,000 years. In addition to the teachings of Madman and the others, their strength naturally increased by leaps and bounds. The simplest comparison. Once, profound meanings were very rare in the 4 continents. But now, for example, there were already thousands of disciples in the Demon Palace who had comprehended a profound meaning. For example, Elder Hua, the Demon Palace Master, Chu Yun, the Alliance Master, and He Zhongtian, these people who had opened the door to potential, each of them had already grasped 5 or 6 profound meanings. 5 or 6 profound meanings were already on the same level as the patriarchs of the 3 major races. So, compared to before, the overall strength of the 4 continents had increased by a lot. Of course, the 3 major races were also growing. And the speed of their growth was even more shocking than the 4 continents. After all, the foundations of the 3 major races were stronger than the 4 continents. Some of the elders had comprehended a profound meaning. But they were all ordinary laws. No one had succeeded in comprehending the profound meaning of the strongest laws. The profound meaning of the ordinary laws and the heavenly tribulation naturally couldn't compare to the strongest laws. And now, because it was a special time, when comprehending a profound meaning and needing to pass the tribulation, the various forces would help each other. After all, this was the new fighting force of the sky cloud realm. Every time there was someone who grasped a profound meaning, the foundation of the sky cloud realm would be more stable. On this day, another piece of news that shocked the sky cloud realm and all the major races spread. After 10 years, the Feather Emperor and the 4 divine beasts had finally finished creating the divine treasury. The divine treasury stood on the sky cloud island. It was a huge stone pagoda that was 999 feet tall. It had a total of 10 floors and each floor was a spatial divine item. Not only was the space inside extremely large, but there were also large amounts of treasures. This ancient pagoda was named the Sky Cloud Divine Treasury by the Feather Emperor, the Blood Ancestor, and the Little Rabbit. It meant that this was a divine treasury that belonged to the Sky Cloud realm. The news that shocked the Sky Cloud realm was that the divine treasury would open in 3 days and all the major races could participate. As for the divine items inside the divine treasury, naturally, it was the law inheritance and law miniature that received the most attention. When the Feng people heard the news, the white-haired old woman and the white-haired old man immediately went to the Sky Cloud Island to discuss with the Feather Emperor and the other 2. Although the Feng people were in dire straits, their foundation was not inferior to the dragons and the Qilin clan. After some discussion, the Feng people also agreed to contribute a portion of the law inheritance, divine weapons, and divine arts to the divine treasury. They did this to ease the relationship between the Feng people and the Feather Emperor and the others and to exchange for a spot to enter the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasury. After all, everyone wanted the law miniature. 3 days later, all the major races poured into the Sky Cloud Ocean. There was no lack of secluded old antiques among them. They wanted the law miniature even more. However, no one dared to act recklessly in the Sky Cloud Ocean. Even the ferocious beasts were extremely well behaved. Sky Cloud Island. In the pavilion. The Feather Emperor, the Little Rabbit, the Blood Ancestor, and the 4 divine beasts sat around a table. In the void in front of them, there were images floating. It showed the people of various races pouring into the Sky Cloud Ocean. The Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasury stood in the mountains below, like a giant peak, exuding a magnificent aura. This stone pagoda was jointly refined by the Feather Emperor, the Blood Ancestor, and the Little Rabbit. Except for the ultimate profound meaning and the sovereign divine weapon, no one can damage it. Have you contacted Qin Feiyang and the others? Azure Dragon suddenly retracted his gaze and asked. Yes. But none of them replied. They should be in seclusion. The Blood Ancestor nodded. Then don't disturb them. Azure Dragon waved his hand and smiled. Looking at the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasury, he was full of pride. Swish. At this time, Qi Xiaoyun and Long Chen appeared. They had also received a message and came to take a look. Looking at the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasury sitting below, there was a trace of a smile on their faces. Senior Azure Dragon. How many law miniature did you put in this time? Qi Xiaoyun was curious. 50 ultimate laws of nature. 200 ordinary laws of nature. After Azure Dragon finished speaking, he took out a black token and handed it to Qi Xiaoyun. So generous? Didn't Qin Feiyang say that he would only put in 3 to 5 miniature? Qi Xiaoyun and Long Chen looked at each other with astonishment. This is the first time the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasury is opened, so I put in more. Azure Dragon smiled. I see. Qi Xiaoyun smiled in realization. This was just like doing business. As long as everyone tasted the benefits, they would continue to come again. Chapter 3957. What's this then? Long Chen looked at the black medallion. The medallion was the size of a baby's palm and had the words, Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury, engraved on it. This is the Heaven Cloud Medallion. It's also everyone's life-saving talisman. Every living being that enters the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasure will be given one. When they enter the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasure and encounter danger, they only need to crush the Heaven Cloud token and they will be sent out of the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasure. But once you crush the medallion, it's the same as giving up on the treasure hunt. Azure Dragon explained with a smile. You're really thoughtful. Long Chen chuckled. This way, they would be able to prevent innocent deaths. After all, once they entered the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury, fighting and killing would be unavoidable. Wait. Suddenly, Qi Xiaoyun looked at the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury and frowned. There are strong and weak beings coming to the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury. There are even many reclusive old antiques, such as my Qilin clan. Before coming here, I heard from my father that a few reclusive old antiques are also coming to the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury. If they also enter the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury, will the weaker beings have a chance? The 4 guardian beasts looked at each other and smiled. Black Tortoise smiled and said with a hoarse voice, We've already thought of this. It's also because of this that we set the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury to have 10 floors. Qi Xiaoyun was stunned. It means that beings of different cultivation levels will have to enter different spaces. For example, only those in the 9 heavens realm and below can enter the first floor. Only those in the imperishable realm can enter the second floor. As for the reclusive old antiques, they can only enter the 10th floor. They won't be allowed to enter the other 9 floors. Of course. Because of the difference in cultivation level, the treasures in each floor and the number of treasures are different. For example, on the first floor, most of the treasures are divine weapons and divine techniques. Their grades are not high, and there are only 2 law inheritances and no law miniatures. After all, those below the 9 heavens realm haven't even comprehended the laws. It's useless to have law miniatures. On the 10th floor, basically only law miniatures are law miniatures. After all, only law miniatures are useful to reclusive old antiques. The Black Tortoise explained. Qi Xiaoyun and Long Chen exchanged glances. Both of them admired the 4 divine beasts from the bottom of their hearts. The scope of his consideration was really comprehensive. Handing the Heaven Cloud divine treasure over to the 4 guardian beasts was indeed a wise choice. There was no need for them to worry about it at all. Thank you for your hard work, seniors. Qi Xiaoyun returned the token to Azure Dragon. It is our honor to be able to do something for the Sky Cloud realm in our spare time. Azure Dragon chuckled. Qi Xiaoyun sighed inwardly. If everyone could wholeheartedly contribute to the Sky Cloud realm like the 4 guardian beasts, it would be difficult for the Sky Cloud realm not to become powerful. Why don't I see Qin Feiyang and the others? Long Chen looked around. Maybe they are all in seclusion. Azure Dragon smiled. He was the one who suggested the creation of the divine treasure. Aren't you going to take a look with your own eyes? Long Chen was speechless. How can they be as free as us? All right. Thank you for your hard work, seniors. Qi Xiaoyun bowed to the 4 guardian beasts before turning around and preparing to leave. Buzz. But right at this moment, the voice of a divine sound transmission stone rang out. Qi Xiaoyun was startled. He took out the divine sound transmission stone and a phantom appeared. He was a middle-aged man with long, fiery red hair. Clearly, he was from the Qilin clan. Young Patriarch. Something bad has happened. A large number of people from the Divine Kingdom have arrived at the land of buried gods. The middle-aged man exclaimed. A large number? Qi Xiaoyun was startled. He asked, how many are there? Long Chen, the Feather Emperor, and the 4 guardian beasts immediately looked at the middle-aged man. I estimate that there are at least tens of thousands of them. The middle-aged man said solemnly. So many? Qi Xiaoyun turned pale with fright. The pupils of Long Chen, the Feather Emperor, and the others shrunk. Tens of thousands of people, that was not an ordinary number. Moreover, it just so happened that the Heaven Cloud divine treasure was opening. Did you see Ryuko and the others? Long Chen asked. Yes. Apart from Ryuko, there's also the God Clan woman who was defeated by the Goldwing Wolf King. As for the other geniuses, I haven't seen them yet. The middle-aged man shook his head. Fine. Don't act rashly. You can't afford to offend these people. Long Chen reminded. Understood. The middle-aged man nodded, and the phantom quickly disappeared. Qi Xiaoyun also put away the divine sound transmission stone. He smiled bitterly and said, this Ryuko really doesn't mind the trouble. I can see him every time. I'm afraid things won't be so simple this time. This Ryuko was tortured by Qin Feiyang back then. Given his status in the Divine Kingdom, he won't let such humiliation go so easily. Moreover, that God Clan woman had her cultivation level stripped by the Goldwing Wolf King. She's definitely here for revenge. No. Let whoever did this deal with it. Hurry up and call the Goldwing Wolf King and Qin Feiyang out. Long Chen rubbed his forehead. He didn't want to get involved in this mess. This, Qi Xiaoyun looked at the Feather Emperor trio and the 4 divine beasts. Don't look at us. We already agreed that this is a stage for you youngsters. We old guys are only in charge of eating, drinking, and playing. The little rabbit waved its paws. Qi Xiaoyun's mouth twitched. They were really asking him to do all the work. Even if he didn't do anything, he could at least give him some advice. Qi Xiaoyun said helplessly, I didn't ask you to do anything. I only asked you to contact Qin Feiyang and the others. That's fine. The little rabbit nodded and looked at the blood ancestor. The Blood Ancestor took out the divine sound transmission stone and sent a message to Qin Feiyang. However, there was no reply even after a long time. That bastard is definitely hiding on purpose. Long Chen's face darkened. Then I'll send a message to the little lunatic. The Blood Ancestor chuckled. Back in the Black Tortoise world, he had already established a contract bridge with Qin Feiyang and the others. However, the lunatic didn't reply. As you can see, I'm not helping you. They're ignoring me. The Blood Ancestor put away the divine sound transmission stone and looked at Qi Xiaoyun helplessly. Celestial Sword, hurry up and contact the castle. You want to hide and relax? How can there be such a good thing? Long Chen snorted coldly. But after a while, the Celestial Sword's helpless voice sounded, the castle doesn't care about me. This is too much. Long Chen's veins bulged as he looked at the 4 guardian beasts and said, Seniors, please be the judge. How can there be such a person? Cough, cough. The 4 guardian beasts coughed dryly to hide the smile on their faces. This group of youngsters was really interesting. That, Brother Long, you know my strength. Even if I make a move, I won't be of much help. I'll return to the Qilin sacred land first and look forward to your good news. Qi Xiaoyun rolled his eyes and immediately activated a spacetime teleportation divine artifact. Before Long Chen could react, he had already entered. Long Chen looked at this scene in a daze, and a row of black lines appeared on his forehead. How could he run faster than a rabbit? This Qi Xiaoyun is really a little fox. Until now, he hasn't fought with the people of the Divine Kingdom. The Blood Ancestor shook his head. This person was much stronger than the Qilin Lord. Isn't his purpose obvious? He doesn't want the Divine Kingdom to target the Qilin clan. In fact, I feel that his strength is not simple. Long Chen rubbed his eyebrows. If he knew this, he wouldn't have come to Sky Cloud Island. Black Tortoise frowned and said, as far as we know, he seems to have obtained an ultimate inheritance of the law of destruction in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. That seems to be the case on the surface, but what about in reality? Do you still remember the situation at the Sky Bell Divine Treasure's exit? At that time, he wasn't far from the exit, but in the end, he arrived later than Qin Feiyang. At that time, he arrived with serious injuries. You all should know that he possessed 9 sovereign divine armaments back then. Furthermore, he had also fused with the ultimate profundity of the law of destruction. With such strength, apart from the primal chaos divine king and the various demon kings, who could have hurt him? So there is definitely something strange about this. Long Chen analyzed. Now that I think about it, it is indeed strange. The Blood Ancestor nodded. Most importantly, the last time we met here, we were all able to sense a dangerous aura from him. But this time, he didn't. Clearly, he is deliberately hiding it. Looks like there will be another person in this world that I can't see through. Long Chen shook his head and sighed. Cough cough. We'll talk about this later. Brother Long Chen. The Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure is about to open. At this time, we can't let the people of the Divine Kingdom come and join in the fun. So, you have to go and delay them. Azure Dragon smiled slightly. Do I have a choice? Long Chen smiled bitterly. You've worked hard. Vermilion Bird laughed. Okay. I'll go and take a look. Long Chen sighed helplessly, opened a space-time passage, and turned to leave. Vermilion Bird looked at Long Chen's back and smiled. Fortunately, we have this little guy in the Heavenly Cloud realm. Yes. Although he is the child of Ice Dragon, I really can't hate him. The Blood Ancestor nodded. Back in the ancient realm, Ice Dragon had almost killed him. Long Tianyu's mother had also died because of the dragons, so he had always hated Ice Dragon and the dragons of the ancient realm. However, when he looked at Long Chen, he really couldn't hate him. On the contrary, it was full of praise. Feather Emperor turned to look at Blood Ancestor and frowned. Speaking of which, old devil, haven't you thought about it? When are you going to confess to your son? This, Blood Ancestor hesitated. Boom! But suddenly, a terrifying aura erupted from the mountain below. This was the aura of a fierce beast, as if the ruler of all beasts was born, shocking all directions. This is the aura of the white-eyed wolf. Quick! The little rabbit's spirit was lifted. She directly threw away the divine wine in her hand and rushed down the mountain below like lightning. Feather Emperor and Blood Ancestor looked at each other, gave the 4 guardian beasts a few words, and immediately chased down. Chapter 3958. The Land of Buried Gods. The various clans had always arranged for spies to lurk in the inner area of the Land of Buried Gods. Because only by doing so could they grasp the movements of the Divine Kingdom. Be careful. Somewhere in the inner area, 5 figures were lurking in the mountains. All of them were middle-aged. They were the spies of the various clans. The middle-aged man who reported to Qi Xiaoyun was among them. They concealed their aura and carefully hid in the mountains. Their eyes were all fixed on the same place in front of them, not daring to make any noise. The void in front of them. A large group of people was coming in a mighty manner. Leading them were Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang. Both of their faces were extremely gloomy. Especially Ryuko. 10 years ago, he was suppressed in the Soul-Sealing Valley for 150,000 years. For him, it was simply a stain that could not be washed away in his life. Moreover, although this matter was deliberately concealed by the king of the Divine Kingdom, the Dragon God Sword, and the red-haired old man, how could there be a wall in the world that did not leak? So later, it slowly spread in the Divine Kingdom. In the past 10 years, who knew how many people laughed at them behind their backs? Every day was a torment. His hatred for Qin Feiyang naturally grew stronger. Originally, the king did not let him come to the Sky Cloud realm this time, but he really could not swallow this resentment and insisted on coming to wash away this shame. Soon, a group of people arrived above the 5 and flew straight over. Phew! The 5 of them let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they were not discovered. Otherwise, with the anger of Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang, they would probably be cut into pieces. Someone is here? But suddenly, a suspicious voice sounded in the sky. A young man of the Divine Kingdom looked down at the mountain and immediately found the 5. Oh no! The 5's faces changed dramatically. They turned around and fled without hesitation. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang stopped and looked down at the 5. How dare you spy on us here? Courting death. Ryuko's eyes were filled with killing intent. Now, as long as it was someone from the Sky Cloud realm, they would become the target of his anger. As Ryuko finished speaking, a black-clothed youth beside him immediately took a step forward and chased after the 5 people. The 5 of them were not slow at all. This was because right now, coming to the land of the buried gods as spies was a matter of life and death. If they didn't have the courage and ability to do so, the various powerhouses wouldn't dare to send them here. The 5 of them were all paragon sovereigns. All of them had grasped profound truths of the highest order. Furthermore, he also had a supreme-level heaven-defying auxiliary divine art. With such a cultivation base and a deity technique of this level, it would not be a problem for him to escape. But when the black-clothed young man saw that the 5 of them were quite fast, he immediately released the power of law from his body. This was the law of time. The next moment, he took a step forward, and his speed instantly increased by a large margin. Shockingly, it was the supreme profound, instant time. In just a few blinks of an eye, the black-clothed youth had caught up with the 5 of them and stood in front of them. "What are you doing? We didn't do anything to you. Why are you chasing us? When 2 armies are at war, why don't you kill the envoys?" The 5 of them were terrified. "That makes sense, but there's no other way. Right now, Ryuko's mood is very bad. You can only blame yourselves for being unlucky." The black-clothed youth smiled coldly. "Bastard!" The 5 of them roared. One after another, profound truths appeared out of nowhere. Each of them grasped 2 to 3 kinds of profound truths. In the sky cloud realm, this was considered a cornerstone. But the black-clothed youth opposite them had a face full of disdain. Boom! With the emergence of the law of Earth, a giant mountain appeared and suspended in the air. It was as if it was cast out of divine iron, and it shone with boundless radiance. "You don't even have profound truths, yet you dare to monitor our movements. Aren't you courting death? Seems like the sky cloud realm is really nothing much." The black-clothed youth smiled contemptuously, and the giant mountain fell with a loud rumble. Following a loud explosion, the supreme ultimates of the 5 cultivators crumbled like rotten wood. "Divine Kingdom, you heartless beasts, just you wait. Sooner or later, you will die a horrible death." The 5 of them roared hysterically, and their eyes were filled with hatred. Hearing this, the black-clothed youth's face suddenly turned cold. The giant mountain burst out with a destructive aura and blasted toward the 5 of them. Buzz! But at this moment, accompanied by the appearance of a space-time tunnel, a white-clothed youth stepped out and stood in front of the 5 of them. With a wave of his hand, a river of stars fell, and the giant mountain was shattered. Profound truth of the law of space-time. The black-clothed youth's face changed slightly, and he quickly retreated. "Lord Long Chen." The 5 of them looked at the youth's back, and they were all wild with joy. That's right. The person who came was really Long Chen. At the same time, Ryuko saw Long Chen appear, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. "All of you, step back." Long Chen looked at the black-clothed youth and said to the 5 people behind him. "Yes. Lord, be careful." The 5 of them responded respectfully, turned around, and flew away like lightning. Long Chen's eyes flashed with killing intent. He looked up at Ryuko and said, "The monarch has made a blood oath that you can't kill innocent people in the sky cloud realm. But looking at your current posture, it seems that you are going to kill everyone. Aren't you afraid that the monarch will be obliterated by the blood oath?" Ryuko heard this and sneered, "These ants came to monitor us and affect our mood. Is this considered killing innocent people? If that's the case, you're affecting my mood now. Does that mean I can kill you too?" Long Chen waved his hand, and the river of stars suspended in the sky suddenly turned into a torrent, rolling toward the black-clothed youth. "How dare you!" The black-clothed youth turned around and ran. "Ants are not worthy of shouting at me." Long Chen snorted coldly, and the river of stars covered the sky and earth. The black-clothed youth screamed on the spot, and his soul was destroyed. Then the river of stars returned to the sky above Long Chen, exuding a destructive aura. "Good kill." The 5 people who had run far away to watch immediately roared when they saw this scene. Their expressions were incomparably excited. But Ryuko, Jiang Yunshuang, and tens of thousands of the Divine Kingdom's geniuses' faces suddenly darkened. "To be honest, I'm not interested in fighting you. Because no matter how many times I kill you, you can be reborn again. This kind of battle is meaningless." Long Chen shook his head. His words were very calm, and he didn't mean to look down on anyone. However, when it landed in the ears of Long Zi and the others, it was a blatant humiliation to them. It was as if he was mocking them for leaving their divine souls in the Divine Kingdom and not daring to have a real life-and-death battle with the geniuses of the Sky Cloud realm. That's right. If you have the ability, don't stay in the Divine Kingdom. Leave your divine souls in advance to save your lives. Do you dare? What's funny is that you call yourselves the geniuses of the divine kingdom. Are you worthy? Look at the geniuses of the sky cloud realm. Long Chen, Long Qin, Qin Feiyang, Li Feng, Madman Mo, and Golden Wing Wolf King. They never bothered to do this kind of thing. They are the real geniuses. You? At best, you are a group of cowards with no backbone and courage. You don't even deserve to carry their shoes. The 5 spies weren't as polite as Long Chen. Their insults and mocking laughter made Ryuko and the others gnash their teeth in anger. Long Chen didn't stop them. He didn't humiliate Ryuko and the others because he didn't care. But if others humiliated them, he wouldn't object. Because these people's expressions were very interesting and worth admiring. You really don't know what's good for you. One of the young men couldn't help but glance at the 5 spies. We don't know what's good for us, but we are better than you cowards. At least we have the courage to come here and spy on you. If it were you, would you dare to do this? I'm afraid you would wet your pants. Don't stare at us like that. If you really have the ability, then take back the divine soul you left in the divine kingdom and fight to the death with the geniuses of the sky cloud realm. The 5 spies sneered. The young man was so angry that he went crazy. He took a step forward, and a slaughter law rolled out, turning into a bloody wave that covered the sky and surged toward the 5 spies. Long Chen waved his hand, and the Star River went against the current. With a loud bang, the bloody wave was annihilated in the void. Then, the Star River roared and rushed toward the young man like an ancient giant beast. The young man's face turned pale, and he retreated in fear. Look, look, look. You bully the weak and fear the strong. You can only show off in front of us. When you meet Lord Long Chen, you are like a mouse meeting a cat. A genius of the divine kingdom? I think it's the divine kingdom that's useless. The 5 spies laughed. It was so satisfying. They were also glad that the sky cloud realm had people like Long Chen and Qin Feiyang. Otherwise, who could fight against the divine kingdom? Just like these people in front of them, any one of them had mastered the ultimate meaning. Seeing that the young man was about to be drowned by the Star River, Jiang Yunshuang took a step forward and landed in front of the young man. He activated the ultimate meaning of the time law and slashed out with his sword. Boom! The 2 ultimate meanings collided with a loud bang. A wave of world-destroying energy surged out in all directions like a tide. Retreat! The 5 spies' pupils shrank, and they turned around and fled. They had a hunch that the battle between Long Chen and the geniuses of the divine kingdom was about to break out. If they didn't escape quickly, they would definitely become a burden to Long Chen. Because when the time came, Long Chen would have to take care of them while fighting. Although they couldn't contribute much, they couldn't become a burden. Since you don't want to fight with us, let the golden-winged wolf king come. Jiang Yunshuang stared at Long Chen. And Qin Feiyang. Ryuko also landed beside Jiang Yunshuang and stared at Long Chen with sharp eyes. Them? Long Chen was slightly taken aback and shook his head. I want to find them too. What do you mean? The 2 of them frowned. Before coming, I contacted them. But I couldn't get in touch with them. At first, I thought they were slacking off. But now, I finally understand. Long Chen sighed. Understand what? The 2 of them were suspicious. Obviously. They don't want to fight with you. Long Chen sighed. Are they afraid of us? A young woman sneered. Afraid of you? Long Chen was stunned and looked at the young woman strangely. How could she say such ignorant words? He shook his head and said, Don't say this in front of Qin Feiyang and the golden-winged wolf king. Otherwise, they will definitely laugh at you for having big breasts and no brains. You, the young woman frowned. Remember. They won't be afraid of anyone. They just don't want to play with you. Long Chen shook his head helplessly. It was really boring to fight with the geniuses of the Divine Kingdom. They would risk their lives to kill the other party, but not long after, the other party would appear in front of them alive and kicking. This kind of battle was like playing house. What was the point? Fighting with us is a joke. The tens of thousands of people of the Divine Kingdom trembled with anger when they heard this. These words were not lethal, but they were extremely insulting. Chapter 39-59. Don't think that I am humiliating you. It's already not easy for you all to be able to reach this step. Long Chen smiled faintly. Aren't you humiliating us? The group of people clenched their fists, and their eyes were spitting fire. Each of you is strong, but why are your hearts so fragile? Long Chen was speechless. The flowers in the greenhouse couldn't withstand the blow. Since Qin Feiyang and the others are not here, then you will do it. I have heard of the realm of gods for a long time, and I really want to see it. Jiang Yunshuang looked at Long Chen aggressively. Not interested. Long Chen shook his head. Jiang Yunshuang raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang and Wolf King were not interested in them, and this person was also not interested in them. In these people's eyes, fighting with them was really a game? Since you are not interested, then what are you doing here? Ryuko's face was gloomy. I am here to ask for a favor. Long Chen smiled slightly. You have something to ask us? The group of people was stunned. What was going on? What is it? Ryuko frowned. Long Chen smiled and said, please return to the Divine Kingdom first and come back half a year later. What is it? The group of people raised their eyebrows. They thought that there was really something to ask of them, but they didn't expect that it was to ask them to withdraw from the Sky Cloud realm. Or, you can cultivate in the land of buried gods for half a year and then enter the Sky Cloud realm after half a year. At that time, as long as you don't kill innocent people, we will not stop you. Long Chen smiled politely. Moreover, it was also a negotiable attitude. What a joke. Why should we listen to you? Someone sneered. Isn't this a negotiation? We are all young people. If there is something, sit together and discuss it slowly. There is no need to make a fuss as if we are mortal enemies. Long Chen smiled. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang looked at each other. What the hell was going on? Why did they insist on letting them enter the Sky Cloud realm after half a year? Wait a minute. Could it be that the Sky Cloud realm was planning something and didn't want them to know? Thinking of this, Ryuko's eyes flashed. He looked at the people behind him and said, since you don't want to fight, let's not talk nonsense with him. Let's go. Immediately. Under the two's lead, the group of people rushed towards the exit. Sigh. Aren't you making things difficult for me? Long Chen sighed and took a step forward. He actually used the supreme profound of the laws of time, instant time. In just an instant, he appeared in front of the group of people. What are you trying to do? I'm telling you, don't challenge our limits. Someone shouted angrily. Don't misunderstand. I really have no intention of fighting with you. Long Chen shook his head. Then scram, don't block the way. The attitude of this group of people was very rude. Get lost, Long Chen muttered as a wisp of cold light gradually suffused his eyes, and he smiled faintly. Since it's like this, then I might as well make it clear. So long as I'm here, all of you won't be able to leave the land of buried gods. Who do you think you are? You think you can stop so many of us? A trace of disdain appeared on many people's faces. Sigh. Why do you have to put on such an overbearing attitude when I'm talking to you nicely? You have to be clear that this is the Sky Cloud realm, not your divine kingdom. Long Chen was helpless. It really confirmed the saying that kind people are bullied and kind horses are ridden. The more polite you are, the more arrogant the other party will be. Is it so difficult to respect each other? So what if it's the sky cloud realm? In front of our divine kingdom, the sky cloud realm is just a small place. Someone mocked. Since it's a small place and you don't care about it, then why do you keep coming to the sky cloud realm again and again? Are there any of your ancestors here? You want to come here to acknowledge your ancestors? Long Chen frowned. It was another sentence that had little lethality but was extremely insulting. The group of people's faces turned gloomy again. Ryuko, goddess, he's obviously picking a fight. This kind of person deserves to die 1,000 times. Every one of them was murderous, as if Long Chen had dug up their ancestors' graves. Boom! A terrifying aura roared out from Jiang Yunshuang's body. Perfect Dominator Realm? Long Chen was slightly taken aback. He comprehended a new law so quickly? And it was upgraded to the 5th Profound? Counting carefully, it was only about 10 years. Even with the time array, even if his talent was outstanding, it was impossible to be so fast. Don't be surprised. Your sky cloud realm has its own law inheritance, let alone our divine kingdom. A trace of contempt crawled up in Jiang Yunshuang's eyes. The 3 ultimate profundities of time law, thunder law, and destruction law instantly appeared out of nowhere. The terrifying divine power shook all directions. That's true. Long Chen nodded, frowned slightly, and said, but do you really want to be so aggressive? I really don't want to waste my time on this meaningless battle. How could a place like the Divine Kingdom not have any law inheritance? Perhaps there were even inheritances of ultimate profundities. We'll know if it's meaningful after we fight. A cold light burst out in Jiang Yunshuang's eyes. The 3 ultimate profundities instantly carried the power to destroy the world as they charged toward Long Chen. Everyone's patience has a limit. Long Chen whispered. As his voice fell, the god's domain appeared. The moment the 3 ultimate profundities entered the god's domain, they immediately began to disintegrate and dissipate. What? It can actually nullify the ultimate profundities? What the hell is this? As the saying goes, hearing is false, seeing is believing. At this moment, witnessing the terror of the god's domain with their own eyes, the tens of thousands of people in the divine kingdom couldn't help but turn pale with fright. Soon, the 3 ultimate profundities completely dissipated in the god's domain. Long Chen's body wasn't injured at all. Jiang Yunshuang could not help but frown when she saw this. It was indeed inconceivable. Boom! But the next moment, the god race mark between her eyebrows erupted with a dazzling divine light. The 3 ultimate profundities appeared again. This time, the power of the 3 ultimate profundities skyrocketed under the support of the god race mark. They could completely crush other ultimate profundities of the same level. I'd like to see how strong your god's domain is. Jiang Yunshuang's eyes turned cold as the 3 ultimate profundities attacked. With a loud bang, the god's domain immediately trembled. Long Chen was shocked. This was the power of the god race mark. It could actually shake the god's domain. However, although the 3 ultimate profundities could shake the god's domain, when the 3 ultimate profundities entered the god's domain, they immediately began to dissipate. But the speed was very slow. Compared to before, it was several times slower. Long Chen's eyes darkened. She didn't expect the god race mark to be so strong. It seemed that the god's domain also had a limit. In other words, when encountering methods that surpassed the ultimate profundities, it couldn't be easily nullified. This is the god's domain? It's only a so-so. The god race mark is still stronger. The group of people laughed. But Ryuko didn't say a word during the whole process. He was staring at Long Chen. In the blink of an eye. The three ultimate profundities had already arrived in front of Long Chen, but they didn't dissipate much. It seemed that Long Chen was about to be drowned by the three ultimate profundities. Swish! Long Chen took a step back. The three ultimate profundities immediately whizzed past him and blasted into the ground below. Boom! The ground suddenly collapsed and sank, showing a scene of the end of the world. It was also at this moment. With a crack, the god's domain instantly shattered. What? The god's domain was actually broken? The 5 scouts in the distance were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. This must be a dream. When they looked at Jiang Yunshuang again, the 5 of them couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. This was the power of the god race mark? It was too terrifying. Phew! Seeing the god's domain shatter, Ryuko finally let out a sigh of relief. The reason why he called Jiang Yunshuang to come to the sky cloud realm was to see if the power of the god race mark could break the god's domain. In other words, before, he wasn't completely sure. But now, the fact was in front of him. The god race mark could indeed threaten Long Chen. The god's domain is no longer a concern. Let's see how you can still be arrogant. Immediately after, Ryuko looked at Long Chen and sneered. Long Chen's face was a little pale. The shattering of the god's domain caused him a lot of injuries. But he didn't care about the injuries. His eyes were locked on the mark between Jiang Yunshuang's eyebrows. It seemed that only a madman who controlled the source of all evil could face the god race mark head-on. This god's domain isn't much. Jiang Yunshuang turned his head to look at Ryuko and said proudly. Ryuko raised his eyebrows. He was a little unhappy with Jiang Yunshuang's attitude. This was not only ridiculing Long Chen, but also ridiculing him. Because in the beginning, he was defeated by Long Chen. But now, Jiang Yunshuang broke the god's domain with his own strength. Wasn't this equivalent to saying that he was inferior to Jiang Yunshuang in disguise? But, although he couldn't break the god's domain, with his 3,000 incarnations, he could crush Jiang Yunshuang. It really proved a sentence. Nothing could escape the fate of mutual promotion and restraint. Long Chen could defeat Ryuko, Ryuko could defeat Jiang Yunshuang, and Jiang Yunshuang could defeat Long Chen. After breaking the god's domain, Jiang Yunshuang's confidence soared. Boom! A strange aura burst out. The law of death. The 18 layers of hell instantly appeared in the sky. Long Chen was taken aback. Last time when Jiang Yunshuang fought with the white-eyed wolf in the demonic palace, she didn't activate the ultimate meaning of the law of death. Could it be that she, who was deprived of her cultivation by the white-eyed wolf, had integrated with the inheritance of the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death? In other words, the current Jiang Yunshuang had mastered 4 ultimate meanings. I still have to thank the golden-winged wolf king. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to obtain the inheritance of this ultimate meaning. Jiang Yunshuang sneered. The other 3 ultimate meanings appeared again. The 4 ultimate profundities unleashed heaven-destroying, earth-exterminating power toward Long Chen. Long Chen took a deep breath, and the god's domain appeared again, covering all directions. It's already useless. What's the point of activating it? Jiang Yunshuang sneered. The god's domain is not as simple as you think. Long Chen smiled faintly. As the 4 ultimate meanings entered the god's domain, an invisible force emerged and surged toward the 4 ultimate meanings. How is this possible? A domain can actually produce the power of rules? Chapter 3960. This is not the power of laws, but the power of heaven and earth. Rumble. Long Chen opened his mouth and an invisible force continuously blasted towards the 4 ultimate mysteries. The destructive aura roared in all directions. The god's domain is a domain of its own. As the owner of the god's domain, I am the master here, controlling the power of heaven and earth in the domain. Whoever I want to destroy will be destroyed. Long Chen stood in the center of the god's domain like a king. Under the pressure of the invisible force, the four ultimate mysteries immediately began to collapse. Don't even think about it. Jiang Yunshuang roared. No matter how heaven-defying the god's domain was, it was impossible to destroy the ultimate mysteries that had been blessed with the mark of the god race. The four ultimate mysteries constantly collided with the power of heaven and earth in the god's domain. Destroy. Long Chen said coldly. With a loud bang, the four ultimate mysteries collapsed on the spot. Puff. Jiang Yunshuang spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. However, at the same time, the god's domain shattered again. It seemed that no matter how heaven-defying the god's domain was, there was still a limit. But even so, it was shocking enough. Because up until now, the only person who could do this was a madman. Terrifying, really terrifying. Are all the people of the Sky Cloud realm so powerful? The tens of thousands of people in the Divine Kingdom could no longer be happy and looked at Long Chen in shock. It turned out that this was the true power of the god's domain. Not to mention anything else, just this method alone was enough to sweep them away. Let me help you. Ryuko clenched his hands and landed beside Jiang Yunshuang. This person's threat was too great. He must take advantage of the fact that Qin Feiyang and the others were not present to get rid of him. No need. I can get rid of him. Jiang Yunshuang waved his hand. His eyes suddenly turned golden and emitted rays of blazing divine light. Immediately, a majestic life force emerged and shrouded Jiang Yunshuang. An incredible scene appeared. The injuries Jiang Yunshuang suffered before were healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his pale face became rosy. Long Chen was bewildered. Even if you have the domain of divinity, you will still die here today. After Jiang Yunshuang recovered from his injuries, he took a step forward and charged toward Long Chen. Rumble. A great battle was about to begin. He had to admit that Jiang Yunshuang was really strong. Even though Long Chen had activated his domain of divinity, it was still a lose-lose situation. The strange thing was, at this moment, Jiang Yunshuang's golden eyes were emitting a golden divine light that contained a boundless life force. No matter how severe the injuries were, they could be healed quickly. Could this be? Long Chen suddenly thought of something, and his gaze couldn't help but tremble. The Eye of Life. That was right. This was the Eye of Life, one of the 10 most powerful battle souls. If he remembered correctly, Qin Feiyang's wife, the mermaid princess, had the Eye of Life. Interesting. The corner of Long Chen's mouth lifted, and he sent a sound transmission, Sky God's Sword. Immediately tell Qin Feiyang that the other half of the Eye of Life is on Jiang Yunshuang. This time, Qin Feiyang had no choice but to make a move. Unless he didn't want Jiang Yunshuang's Eye of Life. The battle became more and more intense. With the help of the Eye of Life and the God Clan's imprint, Jiang Yunshuang was like a tireless war goddess. Long Chen's situation was getting worse and worse. This was also the second time in his life that he had fallen into a bitter battle. The first time was in the ancient world, when he fought with Qin Feiyang. At that time, his domain of divinity was far from being as powerful as it was now. Of course, Qin Feiyang's Eye of Heaven had not evolved at that time. However, although he was no match for Jiang Yunshuang, Long Chen was not discouraged. After all, the God Clan's imprint was a power that was difficult to surpass. Moreover, even if he couldn't beat him, wasn't there still the madman in Qin Feiyang? Now, everyone hugged each other. Personal heroism was no longer important. Besides, he couldn't beat Jiang Yunshuang, but he could beat Ryuko and the human pride of the divine kingdom. He was already very satisfied to be able to do this. The castle hasn't responded. A moment later, the voice of the sky god's sword sounded in his mind. What? He's still ignoring it? Does he really not want the Eye of Life? Long Chen raised his eyebrows. Boom! A moment of distraction caused him to suffer a fatal injury. His entire body flew out like a meteorite, and his body was almost torn apart. Die! Jiang Yunshuang took the opportunity to activate the 4 ultimate profound meanings and crazily attacked Long Chen. Brother! But at this moment, Long Chen landed in the sky. Seeing this situation, his face immediately changed. He quickly stood in front of Long Chen and activated the 3 ultimate profound meanings of the 3 ultimate laws to attack Jiang Yunshuang's 4 ultimate profound meanings. No! Long Chen roared. Long Chen's strength was very strong, but Jiang Yunshuang, who had the God clan's imprint, was even stronger. As expected, Long Chen's 3 ultimate profound meanings were directly shattered like dead wood. The 4 ultimate profound meanings quickly approached, and Long Chen immediately felt a fatal threat. She made a prompt decision. She grabbed Long Chen, activated the momentary time, turned around, and flew away. The famous Long Chen, Long Chen, actually chose to escape. What a joke. Of course, tens of thousands of people in the Divine Kingdom wouldn't miss this opportunity and immediately mocked. Long Chen's face was ugly. He said angrily, "Brother, why do you like to show off so much? Qin Feiyang and the others don't care. What are you doing here? If I hadn't arrived in time, you would have died in their hands. Someone has to fight. Besides, I didn't plan to fight with them." Long Chen took a divine life pill and said with a wry smile, "You can't escape." Jiang Yunshuang followed closely behind. Long Chen's eyes darkened. He turned to look at Jiang Yunshuang. When he saw Jiang Yunshuang's eyes, a trace of surprise appeared on his face. Why did it look like the Eye of Life? It is the Eye of Life. Long Chen said. Then we must kill her and destroy her Eye of Life. We can't let Qin Feiyang get it. Otherwise, when his wife fuses with it, it will be a disaster for us in the future. Long Chen's eyes flashed with killing intent. No. The Eye of Life will help us fight against the Divine Kingdom in the future. Long Chen shook his head. But Qin Feiyang and the others will become our enemies sooner or later. Long Chen frowned. Let's talk about it when we become enemies. Long Chen's attitude was very firm. Long Chen was extremely annoyed when he heard this. At this time, he was still thinking about Qin Feiyang and the others. There should be a limit to his kindness. Ayaya. Suddenly, a strange cry rang out. Long Chen and his sister were slightly stunned. Wasn't this the voice of the white-eyed wolf? They quickly looked up and saw a young man in a golden robe in the void in front of them. Who else could it be but the white-eyed wolf? Golden-winged Wolf King. When Jiang Yunshuang saw the white-eyed wolf, his eyes suddenly surged with killing intent. However, the white-eyed wolf directly ignored him and looked at Long Chen and his sister. He joked, "Why are you in such a mess?" Jiang Yunshuang almost went berserk at this kind of disregard. Long Chen had a wry smile on his face. Long Chen's face was full of anger. Why were they in such a mess? Wasn't it because they wanted to protect the Sky Cloud realm? How could they laugh at them? It was too much. Soon, the 3 people met. Long Chen coldly snorted, "Bastard, if you don't kill them today, don't say that you are from the Sky Cloud realm in the future." "I am not from the Sky Cloud realm." "Are you?" The white-eyed wolf smiled playfully. "Get lost." Long Chen shouted angrily. Huh, the white-eyed wolf laughed happily and looked up at Jiang Yunshuang. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly and he said playfully, "Isn't this that guy? I didn't expect to meet again so soon. Go to hell." Jiang Yunshuang waved his hand, and his eyes were a little red. The four ultimate mysteries directly attacked the white-eyed wolf. The law of death? The white-eyed wolf was taken aback. After depriving this woman of a cultivation realm, it actually made her a lot stronger. However, it seemed that she was even more insensible than before. Hey, do you want her to despair? If you want, come and help." The white-eyed wolf looked at the Longchen siblings and said. The siblings looked at each other and immediately walked to the white-eyed wolf's side. Boom! In an instant, Longchen activated the three ultimate mysteries. Longchen waved his hand and the god's domain reappeared, covering all directions. Following closely, the three ultimate mysteries and the power of heaven and earth surrounded the four ultimate mysteries. What kind of power is this? The white-eyed wolf felt the power of heaven and earth and his expression slightly stiffened. What are you waiting for? Hurry up! Longchen shouted. The white-eyed wolf came back to his senses and took a deep look at Longchen. Accompanied by a dazzling golden light, a giant golden shadow roared out. Immediately, a magnificent power enveloped Jiang Yunshuang. "This is..." Jiang Yunshuang's expression changed and immediately shouted, "Ryuko, help, this is his battle soul." How could she forget the white-eyed wolf's battle soul? Back then in the demon palace, because of carelessness, she was deprived of a cultivation realm. Ryuko's pupils shrank and immediately activated the 3,000 incarnations. All the ultimate mysteries instantly appeared in the sky and attacked the golden beast shadow. "Little sister, hang in there." Longchen suddenly looked up at the thousands of ultimate mysteries and reminded Longchen. Then, with the god's domain, he rushed into the sky and stood in front of the golden beast shadow. When the thousands of ultimate mysteries entered the god's domain, they immediately began to collapse. Damn it! Jiang Yunshuang was enraged. The ultimate mysteries crazily attacked Longchen. As long as Longchen was forced to retreat, the white-eyed wolf would be directly injured and the battle soul would naturally be interrupted midway. And Longchen's ultimate mysteries could not block the ultimate mysteries that were enhanced by the god's clan mark. With a loud bang, the three ultimate mysteries were shattered on the spot. Longchen spat out a mouthful of blood and his face was pale. "Die!" Jiang Yunshuang roared. The four ultimate mysteries carried rolling divine power and attacked Longchen. "Do you think I don't exist?" A cold light flashed in the white-eyed wolf's eyes. Boom! The power of laws emerged one after another. In an instant, the three ultimate mysteries appeared. What? Longchen was bewildered. The ultimate mysteries of the law of time, the ultimate mysteries of the law of death, and the ultimate mysteries of the law of cause and effect, what was going on? Didn't this wolf cub master the ultimate mysteries of the law of time? When did the two ultimate mysteries of the law of death and the law of cause and effect? Chapter 3961. Don't admire me. I'm just a legend. The white-eyed wolf grinned at Longchen. Three ultimate mysteries instantly shattered the sky and charged toward Jiang Yunshuang's four ultimate mysteries. Shameless. Longchen rolled his eyes. At the same time, Jiang Yunshuang also looked at the white-eyed wolf in disbelief. Because the last time they fought, the white-eyed wolf only had the ultimate mysteries of the law of time. How long had it been? He actually had two more ultimate mysteries. Could it be that he was still hiding his strength in the demonic palace? However, so what if he had three ultimate mysteries? Could he block her four ultimate mysteries that were enhanced by the god clan mark? However, Just as she was full of confidence, she suddenly discovered that her 4 ultimate mysteries were showing signs of collapsing. What's going on? She hurriedly looked at Long Chen. But Long Chen was in the sky, and his god's domain did not envelop her ultimate mysteries. Since his god's domain did not envelop her ultimate mysteries, why were they collapsing? Actually, she did not know. This was because the white-eyed wolf was depriving her of her 4 ultimate laws. Because of the deprivation, they were showing signs of collapsing. Once all of them were deprived, they would completely disappear. Don't just stand there. Continue to buy some time for me. The white-eyed wolf shouted. Long Chen quivered and once again activated his 3 ultimate mysteries. He charged forward with the white-eyed wolf's 3 ultimate mysteries. Boom! The white-eyed wolf's 3 ultimate mysteries finally met with Jiang Yunshuang's 4 ultimate mysteries. With a loud bang, they were annihilated on the spot. But Jiang Yunshuang's 4 ultimate mysteries were showing signs of collapsing. This made her extremely surprised and suspicious. What was going on? Boom! Very quickly, Longqin's 3 ultimate mysteries collided with Jiang Yunshuang's 4 ultimate mysteries, and they were still as unstoppable as before. Deprive. It was also at this moment. The white-eyed wolf growled. The golden beast shadow also let out a deafening roar. Suddenly, a gust of wind howled and a terrifying aura enveloped the entire area. Puff! The next moment, Jiang Yunshuang spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face instantly turned pale. A 7-colored thunderbolt shot out from her body and flew toward the golden beast's mouth. This was her law of lightning. Because the law of lightning was an ordinary law, it was easier to strip it away than the other 3 supreme laws. When the lightning origin law was swallowed by the huge golden figure, the lightning origin law that Jiang Yunshuang had unleashed immediately disappeared. Not only were the tens of thousands of people from the Divine Kingdom shocked, but even Ryuko was shocked. What happened? Why had the laws of lightning's ultimate profundity suddenly disappeared? And why was Jiang Yunshuang vomiting blood as if he had suffered a serious injury? Then look at Jiang Yunshuang himself. At this moment, her head was lowered and her face was filled with disbelief. The law of lightning had actually disappeared. How could this happen? The law of lightning was something that she had painstakingly comprehended. How could it disappear? This must be a dream. She hurriedly tried to activate the law of lightning again but found that there was no trace of the law of lightning in her body. Could it be that, all of a sudden, she raised her head and stared at the golden beast shadow? Her eyes were filled with horror. This was not depriving her of her cultivation, but her laws. Damn it! What kind of fighting soul was this? Not only could it deprive her of her cultivation, but it could also deprive her of her laws. It was too terrifying. Was this person a human or a ghost? Retreat. Feeling that the 3 supreme laws were also leaving her body, she could not help but feel her scalp go numb. If her 3 supreme laws were also stripped away, it would simply be a calamity for her. Immediately, she turned around and fled. Her face was pale. This was simply a devil. This, Ryuko and the others looked at Jiang Yunshuang in shock. It was clearly a situation where victory was in her grasp. Why did she suddenly flee? Fleeing? The white-eyed wolf frowned. He did not expect this woman to be so fragile. As long as he was given a little more time, he would definitely be able to deprive Jiang Yunshuang of her 3 supreme laws. Dodge! Long Chen shouted. Although Jiang Yunshuang had escaped, the ultimate mysteries of the 3 supreme laws were still there. They frantically attacked the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf looked at the 3 ultimate mysteries. The 3 ultimate mysteries were supported by the God Clan imprint and could not be met head-on. Swish! He activated the moment of time and instantly appeared above the tens of thousands of people. Seeing this, Longqin knew the white-eyed wolf's purpose. He also activated the moment of time and landed above the tens of thousands of people. Boom! The ultimate mysteries of the three supreme laws blasted into the ground in the distance. A destructive aura suddenly surged in all directions. At the same time, seeing the white-eyed wolf and Longqin appear above the tens of thousands of people, Jiang Yunshuang's expression changed abruptly. She hurriedly shouted, "Run, he wants to deprive you of your laws." Deprive us of our laws? The group of people looked at each other. How was this possible? Even Ryuko did not believe it. I'm not joking with you. Hurry! Jiang Yunshuang roared angrily. Seeing this, the group of people immediately turned into birds and animals and fled in fear. Although it was unbelievable, Jiang Yunshuang did not seem to be joking. Ryuko's face was also full of surprise. He activated the moment of time and rushed to Jiang Yunshuang's side like lightning. Ignore them. Return to the divine kingdom. Jiang Yunshuang glanced at the tens of thousands of people and decisively turned around and rushed toward the core area. Ryuko followed behind. He looked at the white-eyed wolf, his heart full of surprise. Until now, he still did not dare to believe that the white-eyed wolf had such an ability. Both of them controlled the moment of time, so naturally, they escaped quickly. But the others were not so lucky. Of course. Among these tens of thousands of people, there were a few who controlled the moment of time. But their situation was different from Ryuko's. Jiang Yunshuang fled as soon as possible. Ryuko and the white-eyed wolf did not specifically target him. After all, he had 3,000 avatars. It was still very difficult to target him. But these tens of thousands of people, when Jiang Yunshuang let them escape, the white-eyed wolf and Longqin had already arrived above them. So at this time, they still wanted to escape. Was it too late? Obviously, it was too late. Longqin immediately attacked. The power of the three laws rolled out. A giant barrier instantly fell, imprisoning all of the tens of thousands of people inside. The white-eyed wolf immediately began to deprive them of their laws. What kind of power is this? Why do I feel that the laws are uncontrollably breaking away? Could it be that what Jiang Yunshuang said was true? He can deprive us of our laws. No. It wasn't easy for me to comprehend these laws. I don't want to lose them. Quickly blast open the barrier. The group of people went crazy. All kinds of profound meanings appeared and frantically bombarded the barrier. But they did not master the ultimate profound meaning of the strongest law, so it was difficult to blast open the barrier. He can really deprive. No, golden-winged wolf king, please have mercy. What's the use of begging him? Quickly self-destruct. As long as we self-destruct, he can't deprive us of our laws. Some people knelt down and begged for mercy. There were also people who roared hysterically. Self-destruct? Longqin stepped into the air with his god's domain and entered the barrier. At that moment, tens of thousands of people were enveloped by the god's domain. I didn't want to go too far, but you people are too insensible. If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know what's good for you. Sea of Qi, shatter for me. As Longqin's voice fell, waves of heaven and earth power emerged and rushed toward the tens of thousands of people. Screams of pain and agony immediately rang out. That invisible heaven and earth power was like an indestructible sharp arrow, piercing through the sea of Qi of tens of thousands of people, leaving behind bloody holes. Fresh blood flowed. The entire god's domain turned blood red in an instant. What kind of method is this? The white-eyed wolf was shocked. The god's domain actually had such a strong lethality? He had always thought that the ability of the god's domain was to make the divine arts, profound meanings, and so on useless. He did not expect that it also had such a terrifying lethality. In less than 3 breaths, tens of thousands of people's sea of qi were all destroyed. Fresh blood gathered in the god's domain. It was a shocking sight. After doing all this, Long Chen closed the god's domain, left the barrier, and landed beside Long Qin. Long Qin waved his hand, and a wave of pressure enveloped the area. Tens of thousands of people were immediately imprisoned in the barrier, and they did not even have the chance to self-destruct their souls. Immediately, she looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, "You can take it away now." "Hey!" The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. "Don't, my law, I beg you, don't take away my law, I'll be your cow and horse." Tens of thousands of people were in despair. But whether it was the white-eyed wolf or the Long Chen siblings, they all had cold faces. Soon, the laws of tens of thousands of people rushed out of their bodies one by one and poured into the golden beast's wide mouth. Immediately, they felt that they had lost all their laws. "It's not over yet." The white-eyed wolf revealed a sinister smile and began to deprive the cultivation of tens of thousands of people again. Long Chen and Long Qin looked at each other. This white-eyed wolf must not be provoked. He was even more terrifying than Qin Feiyang and the madman. After depriving them of their laws, he began to deprive them of their cultivation. This was simply not giving them a way out and completely destroying them. "My law, my cultivation, beast, I curse you to die a horrible death. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go." Tens of thousands of people roared in despair. Without laws and without cultivation, he was basically a cripple. "Still cursing me?" The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. He continued to deprive a group of their cultivation. Undead realm, 9 heavens realm, paragon god, monarch god, war emperor, war master, war emperor, war king, martial ancestor, martial master, martial artist. Finally, tens of thousands of people's cultivation were completely deprived. They had no cultivation at all and were reduced to real mortals. For tens of thousands of people, this was more than just despair. Their eyes fell into darkness and they lost all hope. Even if they still had their souls in the divine kingdom, so what? Even the cultivation of a martial artist was gone. After being reborn, they would just be immortal. Cultivate from the beginning? What a joke. How long would it take to regain the cultivation of the sovereign realm? How long would it take to recomprehend the laws and the ultimate meaning? They didn't dare to imagine. Because when they thought of these questions, they even had the heart to die. All their hopes were dashed. Chapter 3962. The white-eyed wolf's mind moved, and the golden beast's shadow disappeared. He looked at Long Qin and said, "Send them back to the divine kingdom." Long Qin waved his hand, and the enchantment collapsed, turning into a violent hurricane. Accompanied by painful screams, tens of thousands of people's blood splattered in the sky. This was the fastest way to send them back to the divine kingdom. Once the original body died, the soul left in the divine kingdom could begin to rebuild the body. However, now these people probably didn't even have the thought of rebuilding the body. Because their hearts were already dead. "Brother Wolf, aren't you going to chase after Jiang Yunshuang?" Long Chen took another divine elixir of life and asked the white-eyed wolf with a smile. "Why should I chase her?" The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. "Didn't you notice it just now? Her battle soul is the eye of life." Long Chen said. "What?" The white-eyed wolf was shocked. When he came here before, he did notice Jiang Yunshuang's eyes, but because the battle was too urgent, he didn't think too much about it. If the mermaid princess can integrate with Jiang Yunshuang's eye of life, then when we fight in the future, it is equivalent to having a real immortal body. Long Chen smiled slightly, his eyes full of expectation. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" The white-eyed wolf glared at Long Chen angrily and immediately opened a space-time channel. Didn't I ask the celestial sword to inform the castle? Long Chen frowned. I haven't been in the Black Tortoise world these years. What's the use of informing it? The white-eyed wolf went into the space-time channel. Long Chen and Long Qin looked at each other and hurriedly followed. The core area. In front of the Divine Kingdom. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang stood together, looking at the inner area. But the distance was too far. They couldn't see anything. Are you sure he can strip the law? Ryuko frowned. Nonsense. My law of lightning has already been taken by him. Jiang Yunshuang's eyes were filled with resentment. Ryuko was shocked and asked in a deep voice, then why hasn't your cultivation changed? How would I know? Jiang Yunshuang glared at Ryuko angrily. He didn't give him any face at all. Then, he pondered for a moment and guessed, maybe it's because the deprivation of laws doesn't affect one's cultivation. A cold glint flashed in Ryuko's eyes as he said, then you've still profited. What do you mean? Jiang Yunshuang frowned. Last time, because he took away your cultivation, you obtained the inheritance of the law of death's ultimate profundity. That's equivalent to having one more law. In other words, you have 7 laws. This time, he took away your law of thunder, but his cultivation didn't change. It's the same. You're still the same as before. You still control 6 daos of law. The only difference is that the law of lightning has been replaced by the law of death. An ordinary law has been exchanged for an ultimate law. If that's not profiting, then what is? Ryuko said lightly. How can you understand this matter? Isn't it good to have one more law? Moreover, it's an ultimate law. You're mocking me, aren't you? I've suffered losses twice in the hands of the golden-winged wolf king. Jiang Yunshuang said angrily. Even my father has to give you some face. How would I dare to mock you? Ryuko shrugged. But his meaning was quite obvious. Don't be so sarcastic. No matter how bad I am, I'm still better than you. At least Long Chen and Long Qin were defeated by me. Jiang Yunshuang retorted mercilessly. Ryuko clenched his fists, killing intent flashing in his eyes. This was killing intent toward Long Chen and Jiang Yunshuang. Just you wait. The golden-winged wolf king will kneel at my feet and beg for mercy sooner or later. Jiang Yunshuang snorted coldly, turned around, and entered the gate of the Divine Kingdom without looking back. Ryuko glanced at Jiang Yunshuang's back, then lowered his head to look at the core area. A hint of hostility flashed between his eyebrows, and then he also entered the gate of the Divine Kingdom. It was also at this moment. The white-eyed wolf landed in the sky above the core area. Looking at Ryuko's back, he couldn't help but frown. I'm a step too late. Long Chen shook his head. It doesn't matter. They'll come again anyway. However, Ryuko seems to have been defeated by us for the 3rd time. Jiang Yunshuang is also defeated for the 2nd time. I wonder what interesting things will happen the next time we meet. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of playfulness. Long Qin retracted his gaze, looked at the white-eyed wolf and asked, Wolf cub, what's the matter with your ultimate meaning? Hearing this, Long Chen immediately looked at the white-eyed wolf. Jiang Yunshuang thought that the white-eyed wolf had hidden his strength before, but he was very clear about the white-eyed wolf situation. The inheritance of the ultimate meaning of the law of time was given to the white-eyed wolf by the blood ancestor. But now, after disappearing for a period of time, the white-eyed wolf had mastered the ultimate meaning of the law of death and the law of cause and effect. If there was nothing strange about this, he would have chopped off his head on the spot and used it as a stool. Are you familiar with him? The white-eyed wolf looked at the two of them, and after a long time, he choked out a sentence that was infuriating to death. Long Chen was fine. Because his temperament had always been good. But Long Qin couldn't wait to slap him. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and chuckled. Actually, it's no big deal to tell you. The two of them immediately looked at him curiously. The white-eyed wolf glanced around sneakily and said in a low voice, "A few years ago, I dreamed of the god of creation. He said that I was handsome and had extraordinary talent, and that I was very fated with him, so he gave me a few inheritances of the ultimate meaning." When the brother and sister heard this, even Long Chen, who was good-tempered, couldn't help but frown. "You don't believe me? I'm not lying to you. I've never lied." The white-eyed wolf looked at the two of them very seriously. "Get lost!" The brother and sister shouted at the same time. Did he really think that they were 3-year-old children? The god of creation? Why didn't he say that the god of creation wanted to take him as his godson? They had never seen such an unreliable guy. "Forget it if you don't believe me." The white-eyed wolf turned his head and scanned the core area. Why didn't little Qin Zi appear? Immediately, he released his divine consciousness. He thought that Qin Feiyang was still in the core area. In the end, his divine consciousness searched the entire core area but didn't find the Black Tortoise realm. "Where is he?" The white-eyed wolf looked at Long Chen and his sister. "You're their brother. If you don't know, how can we know?" Long Qin's face darkened. "Girls shouldn't have such a bad temper. Be careful that you won't be able to get married in the future." The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Long Qin was immediately furious. But at this moment, Long Chen also nodded and said, "I've been persuading her to do so." "Brother," Long Qin suddenly went crazy. Was this really her biological brother? Sure enough. Great minds think alike. The white-eyed wolf put his arm around Long Chen's shoulder and kept baring his teeth at Long Qin. "You two are biological brothers. I'm just an outsider, okay?" Long Qin glared at the two of them angrily, turned around and left. Long Chen shook his head and laughed. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, "You really don't know where Qin Feiyang is? Am I that untrustworthy to you? I just came out of seclusion. How would I know?" The white-eyed wolf rubbed his forehead. "Then where exactly is this kid?" Long Chen frowned. "Wait. I'll send a message and ask." The white-eyed wolf took out the divine sound transmission stone and sent a message to Qin Feiyang. However, after waiting for a long time, there was still no response. "Strange," the white-eyed wolf muttered and sent a message to Madman. Very soon, Madman's shadow appeared and asked the white-eyed wolf, "When did you come out of seclusion?" "Just now." The white-eyed wolf responded and asked, "Where are you now?" "I don't know." Madman shook his head. "You don't know?" The white-eyed wolf and Long Chen looked at each other. "We are all in the Black Tortoise world, but old Qin, this guy, he said that he wants to go out and relax, so we don't know where he is now." Madman said. "Relax?" The corner of Long Chen's mouth twitched. He was really carefree. The white-eyed wolf was also speechless. "He is outside alone?" "Yes." Madman nodded. The white-eyed wolf said, "Since you are in the Black Tortoise world, you can directly send a message to him. Quickly ask him where he is now. Do you have something urgent?" Madman was suspicious. "No." The white-eyed wolf shook his head. "If not, why are you looking for him?" Madman rolled his eyes. "Damn. If there is nothing urgent, I can't even look for him. We have only been separated for a short time and you are already treating me as an outsider?" The white-eyed wolf was furious. "No. Old Qin went out to relax, mainly to ponder the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, so at this time, I don't want to disturb him." Madman explained. "So that's the case." The white-eyed wolf nodded in realization and helplessly said, "All right then, I will take a stroll outside first. As long as you are happy." Madman chuckled and looked at Long Chen, asking, "How is the battle in the land of buried gods?" Long Chen was stunned and frowned. "You know that there is a battle in the land of buried gods?" "I know. Didn't the heavenly god Sword contact the castle?" "The castle told me." Madman nodded. "Since you know, why didn't you come to help?" Long Chen's face was dark. "You can't blame me for this, I can't go out." Madman grinned. When Long Chen heard this, he really had the urge to curse. He realized that he really couldn't interact with these guys too much, otherwise, he would go crazy sooner or later. Calm down, calm down." Madman smiled and comforted him, asking, "What do you think of Jiang Yunshuang's strength?" "Very strong. Especially the mark of the god race. He can even break my god's domain." Long Chen frowned. "As expected." Madman chuckled. He already expected that although Long Chen could easily defeat Ryuko, facing Jiang Yunshuang, he would definitely fall into a bitter battle. In the future, when facing the god race, only you and Qin Feiyang can act. As for me, I will be responsible for dealing with the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan and the humans of the Divine Kingdom. Long Chen shook his head. Madman pondered for a while and curiously asked, "Then tell me, you, and old Qin, if the three of us fight, who will be the final winner?" This, Long Chen lowered his head and thought, "It's hard to say. Jiang Yunshuang can suppress me with the mark of the god race. You have the power of the source of all evil, so you can definitely suppress me, but your power of the source of all evil can't defeat Qin Feiyang's 3,000 incarnations. That's for sure. Not only does old Qin have 3,000 incarnations, he also has the Eye of Heaven. Who can beat him?" Madman shook his head helplessly. "At least you know your limits. However, if Qin Feiyang faces me, my god's domain can restrain his 3,000 incarnations. As long as he enters the god's domain, he won't be able to activate his 3,000 incarnations. As for the Eye of Heaven, without the help of the 3,000 incarnations, it won't be much of a threat to me." Long Chen smiled. "So, you have the confidence to defeat old Qin?" Madman was taken aback and asked. "Currently, I do have confidence, but when he comprehends the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, it will be a different matter." Long Chen shook his head and smiled. "It seems that from the current situation, our methods actually restrain each other." Madman frowned. "That's why we need to work together. As for the personal grudges between us, let's talk about it later." Long Chen seemed very calm. It seemed that he didn't care about the previous grudges. Chapter 3963. You're quite open-minded. The madman chuckled. He was probably the only person in the world who could be so calm in the face of the extermination of his clan. He asked, "Then what about going to the Divine Kingdom?" "Go to the Divine Kingdom?" The white-eyed wolf was stunned. "When you were in seclusion on Sky Cloud Island, old Qin and I discussed it. If we want to change the current situation of the Sky Cloud realm, we must move the battlefield to the Divine Kingdom." The madman's eyes flashed coldly. "Why didn't you inform me of such an important matter?" The white-eyed wolf frowned. "Weren't you in seclusion? We also sent Li Feng to find you, but Little Rabbit didn't let him see you." The madman shrugged and then said, "However, we didn't forget you. Isn't this the same as you coming out?" "When?" The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed. "When to go depends on the opinion of the person next to you." The madman glanced at Long Chen. The white-eyed wolf immediately turned to Long Chen and urged, "You're a man, don't be so wishy-washy. Just say it, do you want to go or not? I'm different from you. You have Feather Emperor and Blood Ancestor behind you. Even if you leave the Sky Cloud realm, they will be there. But if the dragons leave me now, they will be leaderless." Long Chen smiled bitterly. Isn't your mother still with the dragons? Even your sister Longqin is in your father's hands. She obtained so many ultimate inheritances, let alone your mother. The madman's mouth lifted. He had to admit that the dragon sovereign really knew how to find a backer. After so many years, he had never seen an existence stronger than the ice dragon and the small beast. Long Chen looked at the madman and pondered for a moment. He then looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, "I'll think about it. Besides, Qin Feiyang hasn't made a move yet." Wishy-washy. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of contempt. Long Chen was helpless. The Divine Kingdom. This was a world several times larger than the Sky Cloud realm. The entire land was filled with undulating mountains and verdant vegetation. Clouds and mist lingered between the mountains, making it look like a fairyland. At a certain place, there was a huge city floating in the sky. The scale of this city alone was comparable to the entire eastern continent. In the city, not only were there golden and dazzling buildings, there were also countless strange and lofty mountains. When looked at from afar, it was like an immortal palace that emitted a majestic aura. This was the most sacred place in the Divine Kingdom, the city in the sky. It was also the ancestral land of the purple gold divine dragons. Traces of the purple gold divine dragon could be seen from time to time in the city and in the mountains. At the center of the sky city was a gargantuan mountain that was over 10,000 feet tall, upon which sat a dazzling golden palace. At this moment, inside the palace, the monarch sat on the throne. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang stood respectfully below as they recounted their experiences in the land of buried gods. After a long time, the two of them finally finished their narration and went silent, waiting for the king's punishment. Because this time, the Divine Kingdom had suffered too heavy a loss. Tens of thousands of geniuses were deprived of their cultivation and laws. As the leaders, Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang naturally could not absolve themselves from the blame. However, the monarch, who had listened to the entire story, did not speak. He lowered his head and remained silent. Boom! Suddenly, two terrifying auras descended above the city in the sky. They were a man and a woman. The woman looked to be in her 30s. She was wearing a snow-white dress, and her black hair was tied up high. She had a noble aura, and there was a god clan mark between her eyebrows. The man, on the other hand, was in his 40s. He was wearing a golden robe with a 5-clawed golden dragon engraved on it. Although there was no god clan mark between his eyebrows, one could see an awe-inspiring emperor aura behind him. Just as the man and woman descended, the monarch frowned slightly. He obviously knew the two of them. The man and woman glanced at the city in the sky, then took a step forward and landed directly in front of the palace. "Greetings, Divine King." "Greetings, Sovereign." Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang immediately turned around and bowed respectfully to the two. The two responded faintly and entered the palace. The monarch waved his hand, and two chairs appeared on both sides of the palace. To be able to get the monarch to personally give them a seat, it could be seen that the status of these two people in the Divine Kingdom was definitely not ordinary. The man and woman did not stand on ceremony and directly sat on the chairs, their faces quite gloomy. "It seems that the two of you have already heard about what happened in the Sky Cloud realm." The monarch smiled slightly. "You can still smile? Do you know how serious the matter is?" This time, tens of thousands of people went to the Sky Cloud realm. Most of them were the geniuses of our human race, but in the end, not a single one of them came back alive. This is actually not a big deal. Anyway, they all left behind their divine souls. Sooner or later, they will be reborn. What I can't accept the most is that these people's cultivation and laws were all taken away by the golden-winged Wolf King. Go and see how desperate they are now. There are even many people who can't stand this blow and self-destruct their divine souls, actively seeking death. The middle-aged man in a golden dragon robe said angrily. The young people of our divine race are the same. Even if they can give up the idea of seeking death under our guidance, it will still leave a shadow in their hearts for a lifetime. The woman in white shook her head and sighed. I didn't expect it to be so serious. The monarch frowned. What else do you think? But this matter can't be blamed on Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang. The responsibility is on you. The middle-aged man looked at the monarch aggressively. Me? The monarch was stunned. Yes. With the strength of our divine kingdom, we can easily take down the Sky Cloud realm. But what about you? You took the initiative and reached a 1,000-year agreement with the Sky Cloud realm. Now it's even more exaggerated. Not only did you extend the agreement to 10,000 years, but you also made a blood oath. I want to ask, monarch, what are you trying to do? If it weren't for you, would our divine kingdom have suffered such a great loss? The middle-aged man said angrily. Sovereign, please calm down. Grandpa had no choice but to make the agreement. Because at that time, if Grandpa didn't make the agreement with Qin Feiyang, the divine dragon sword would have been destroyed in his hands. Ryuko hurriedly looked at the middle-aged man and explained. Although the divine dragon sword is a high-grade divine weapon, can it be compared with the reputation of the entire divine kingdom? Go out and see how the people of the divine kingdom talk about you behind your back. The middle-aged man looked at Ryuko and said angrily. Ryuko lowered his head. The human race, the divine race, and the purple gold divine dragon race are the three strongest races of the divine kingdom. There are more than a dozen geniuses and tens of thousands of geniuses, but every time they enter the Sky Cloud realm, they return in defeat. And each time, they are more miserable than the last. Last time, you were suppressed in that place and became the laughingstock of everyone. This time, tens of thousands of geniuses were turned into cripples. On the other hand, the Sky Cloud realm. From the beginning to the end, how many of them have appeared? Qin Feiyang, Golden Wings, Wolf King, Li Feng, Yun Xiang, Long Qin, Long Chen, Madman Mo, count yourselves. How many are there? Only 7. Just 7 of them defeated so many geniuses of the divine kingdom. Isn't this a great humiliation? The middle-aged man said with a pained heart. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang couldn't help but clench their hands. It was indeed a great humiliation. I agree with the human race's sovereign. If you didn't make the agreement with Qin Feiyang in private, the divine kingdom wouldn't have fallen to this point. The woman in white nodded. Good, good, good. It's all my fault. But it's useless to blame me now. The most important thing now is to find a way to turn the tables. The monarch knew that he was in the wrong, so his tone wasn't too strong. Even if he wasn't in the wrong, he still had to be polite to the two in front of him. Because of these two people, one was the human race's sovereign, and the other was the divine king of the god race. Although the human race and the god race were inferior to the purple gold divine dragon clan, it wouldn't be good for the purple gold divine dragon clan if they were angered. The human race's sovereign said, I personally think that to solve this matter, we must tear up the agreement and give the Sky Cloud realm a fatal blow. That won't do. I've already made a blood oath. Moreover, if we really tear up the agreement, isn't it indirectly admitting that the younger generation of the divine kingdom is inferior to the Sky Cloud realm? At that time, it will undoubtedly be more humiliating. So this kind of thing can't be allowed to happen. The younger generation of the divine kingdom can't lose to them. The monarch shook his head. That makes sense. The divine king nodded. His eyes suddenly lit up. He looked at the monarch and the human race's sovereign and said, how about we ask those few to come out of seclusion? The monarch and the human race's sovereign were a little hesitant when they heard this. I know your concerns. Those few are the strongest of the younger generation of the divine kingdom. If even they are defeated by Qin Feiyang and the others, the divine kingdom will have no face left. But now, apart from them, I really can't think of anyone else who has the ability to reverse this situation. The divine king shook his head and sighed. A mere sky cloud realm had forced the divine kingdom to this point. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang looked at each other. There seemed to be a trace of unwillingness. Ryuko bowed and said, "Grandfather, divine king, sovereign, there's no need to ask them to come out of seclusion. Please give us another chance." Ryuko's father and the divine kingdom's princess were biological siblings. Naturally, the monarch was Ryuko's biological grandfather. "You want a chance?" The monarch and the other two frowned. "We can definitely do it this time." Jiang Yunshuang also spoke. "Don't you think it's embarrassing enough now?" The human race's sovereign said angrily. "We are embarrassed, but it's also because of this that if we don't turn the tables, I'm afraid we won't be satisfied for the rest of our lives. So, please grant us our wish." Ryuko clenched his hands, and his eyes were extremely firm. The human race's sovereign raised his eyebrows. "Old man, calm down. Young people, failure is not terrible. What's terrible is losing confidence and fighting spirit. Although they have been defeated all these years, judging from their current state, they haven't given up yet. As long as they haven't given up, there's still hope." The monarch looked at the human race's sovereign and comforted him. He looked at Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang and said with a smile, "You already know the strength of Qin Feiyang and the others. Since you've asked to fight again, you must have a plan in mind. Let us hear it. If I think it's feasible, I'll consider letting you go." "Thank you, grandfather." "Thank you, monarch." The two were overjoyed. Chapter 3964. Ryuko pondered for a while, then looked at the three and said, "In fact, their strongest means are none other than their battle souls." "Battle souls," the human race supreme murmured and nodded. "I heard from Wang Feng and the others that their battle souls are very powerful. Not only powerful, but also terrifying. Long Chen's God's domain can restrain all laws, including the 3,000 incarnations. The golden-winged Wolf King's battle soul is even more terrifying. It can strip away laws and cultivation. Qin Feiyang's battle soul is the eye of heaven. It can even replicate the ultimate profound. As for Madman Mo, although his battle soul is also very strong, in comparison, the ultimate power he possesses," the divine master frowned slightly, then looked at the monarch and asked, "Last time, when you fought with the people of the Sky Cloud Realm, did you see this power?" "No." The monarch shook his head, pondered for a while, then said, "But according to my speculation, this should be the power of the root of all evil." "The root of all evil." The divine master and the human race supreme's expression changed. Ji Yunhai fought with the Blood Demon King back then. The Blood Demon King seemed to have the root of all evil, but he didn't succeed in fusing it. Now, as expected, when Madman Mo obtained the inheritance of the Blood Demon King, he also obtained the root of all evil and successfully fused it. The monarch speculated. To be able to fuse with the root of all evil, he really is the natural enemy of the god race. The divine master's eyes flashed with killing intent. The monarch looked at the divine master and smiled. "The power of the root of all evil, in the entire god race, you should be the only one who can contend against it. But because of your agreement, I can't do anything, right?" The divine master said. The monarch smiled embarrassedly and looked at Long Zi. "Continue." Ryuko's eyes flashed, and said, "Their strongest means are their battle souls, so to deal with them, we have to start with their battle souls." "Start with their battle souls?" The monarch was stunned. "That's right." Ryuko nodded and sneered, "If the plan in my heart succeeds, not only can we defeat them, but also the strength of the divine kingdom will instantly increase by a large margin." "Tell me the details." The three overlords immediately became very interested. The Sky Cloud Realm. I'll go. After talking with Madman, the White-Eyed Wolf was ready to leave. Don't go. The White-Eyed Wolf. What? The White-Eyed Wolf, God's heavenly cloud god, right? The monarch. I know, the White-Eyed Wolf. Of the time. After coming out of seclusion, he saw the Heaven Cloud divine treasure on Heaven Cloud Island and asked the four guardian beasts about the situation there. Long Chen smiled. The four guardian beasts' meaning is that we can't let the divine nation's people cause trouble. So you have to help guard this place. How long? Chapter 39-64. Ryuko pondered for a while, then looked at the three and said, in fact, their strongest means are none other than their battle souls. Battle souls, the human race supreme murmured and nodded. I heard from Wang Feng and the others that their battle souls are very powerful. Not only powerful, but also terrifying. Long Chen's God's domain can restrain all laws, including the 3,000 incarnations. The Golden-Winged Wolf King's battle soul is even more terrifying. It can strip away laws and cultivation. Qin Feiyang's battle soul is the Eye of Heaven. It can even replicate the ultimate profound. As for Madman Mo, although his battle soul is also very strong, in comparison, the ultimate power he possesses, the Divine Master frowned slightly, then looked at the monarch and asked, last time, when you fought with the people of the Sky Cloud Realm, did you see this power? No. The monarch shook his head, pondered for a while, then said, but according to my speculation, this should be the power of the root of all evil. The root of all evil. The Divine Master and the human race supreme's expression changed. Ji Yunhai fought with the Blood Demon King back then. The Blood Demon King seemed to have the root of all evil, but he didn't succeed in fusing it. Now, as expected, when Madman Mo obtained the inheritance of the Blood Demon King, he also obtained the root of all evil and successfully fused it. The monarch speculated. To be able to fuse with the root of all evil, he really is the natural enemy of the God race. The Divine Master's eyes flashed with killing intent. The monarch looked at the Divine Master and smiled, the power of the root of all evil, in the entire God race, you should be the only one who can contend against it. But because of your agreement, I can't do anything, right? The Divine Master said. The monarch smiled embarrassedly and looked at Long Zi. Continue. Ryuko's eyes flashed and said, their strongest means are their battle souls, so to deal with them, we have to start with their battle souls. Start with their battle souls? The monarch was stunned. That's right. Ryuko nodded and sneered, if the plan in my heart succeeds, not only can we defeat them, but also the strength of the Divine Kingdom will instantly increase by a large margin. Tell me the details. The three overlords immediately became very interested. The Sky Cloud Realm. I'll go. After talking with Madman, the White-Eyed Wolf was ready to leave. Don't go. The White-Eyed Wolf. What? The White-Eyed Wolf, God's heavenly cloud god, right? The monarch. I know, the White-Eyed Wolf. Of the time. After coming out of seclusion, he saw the Heaven Cloud divine treasure on Heaven Cloud Island and asked the four guardian beasts about the situation there. Long Chen smiled. The four guardian beasts' meaning is that we can't let the divine nation's people cause trouble. So you have to help guard this place. How long? Looking at the expressions of Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang, they didn't seem as indifferent as before. Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang looked at each other, took a step forward, and landed in front of Long Chen. I'm deeply sorry for the trouble I've caused you during this time. Ryuko cupped his hands and apologized. Long Chen was stunned. He actually apologized. Did the sun rise from the west? It was really strange. There's a good saying. No discord, no concord. This time, We came with sincerity, hoping to turn hostility into friendship with Brother Long and several others, such as Qin Feiyang, Madman Mo, and Golden Wing Wolf King. Jiang Yunshuang also said with a smile. Long Chen was really not used to this attitude. He said suspiciously, "Are you kidding me? Do we look like we're kidding? We're really here to apologize. And I promise that in the next 10,000 years, my divine kingdom will not indiscriminately kill an innocent creature in the sky cloud realm." Ryuko said. Long Chen looked at the two of them. Whether it was their attitude or their tone, they were quite sincere. However, he really couldn't believe that the two of them were here to make peace. Because Ryuko had been suppressed by Qin Feiyang, and it was in a place like the Soul-Sealing Valley. And Jiang Yunshuang had also been deprived of his laws and cultivation by the white-eyed wolf twice. How could such a deep hatred be resolved just like that? It could be said that, being suppressed in a place like the Soul-Sealing Valley, even with Long Chen's character, he would definitely fight to the death with Qin Feiyang, let alone a proud person like Ryuko. So he couldn't be careless. There must be a problem here. Then what are you planning to do in the sky cloud realm this time? If it's just to apologize, there's no need to bring so many people. Long Chen glanced at the hundreds of thousands of people with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. Not only was the number huge, but each of them had extraordinary strength. If they were here to denounce him, he would definitely believe it. But to apologize, forget it. This time, of course, we came to the sky cloud realm to ask for a favor. Ryuko said. Ask for a favor? Long Chen was taken aback. This was getting more and more outrageous. The divine kingdom would ask for a favor from the sky cloud realm? Yes. After these few battles, we also have a deep understanding of the strength of the sky cloud realm. There are some places in the divine kingdom that can't be compared to the sky cloud realm. So, we plan to jointly organize a friendly match with the sky cloud realm. Ryuko smiled slightly. Friendly match? Long Chen was stunned. Yes. Don't think too much. Since it's a friendly match, it will definitely be a friendly match and won't hurt everyone's harmony. We have seriously thought about it. This friendly match is a good thing for both the sky cloud realm and the divine kingdom. Because while everyone is learning from each other, they can communicate with each other and improve each other. Ryuko smiled. How smart was Long Chen's mind? But at this moment, he was confused by the actions of the divine kingdom. What was the divine kingdom trying to do? Ryuko continued, and for this friendly match, the divine kingdom will also come up with generous rewards to make everyone more motivated. What rewards? Long Chen was suspicious. Ryuko smiled and said, 1,000 ordinary law miniatures and 100 ultimate law miniatures. Long Chen was shocked when he heard this. This was really a big deal. Don't worry, it's not over yet. The dragon son waved his hand and continued, apart from that, there are also the inheritances of 10 ultimate profundities of ordinary laws, as well as 5 ultimate profundities of supreme laws. What? This time, even Long Chen couldn't stay calm. Inheritance of 10 ordinary ultimate laws. 5 ultimate profundities of supreme laws, was the divine kingdom crazy? For a friendly match, they actually paid such a big price? Something was wrong, there was definitely a conspiracy here. I think Brother Long must be thinking that the divine kingdom is conspiring. Actually, we do have a little selfish motives. Ryuko sighed. Jiang Yunshuang frowned when he heard this and transmitted his voice, don't talk nonsense. Don't worry. We definitely won't tell him about our plan. But we have to admit that we are selfish. Otherwise, they will always be on guard against us. Ryuko smiled secretly. As long as you know your limits. Jiang Yunshuang snorted coldly. What selfish motives? At this time? Long Chen asked. For the battle 10,000 years later. I believe you also know about the agreement between Qin Feiyang and the Lord. 10,000 years later, our divine kingdom and the sky cloud realm will inevitably have a battle. As the saying goes, only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. So my selfish motive is to use this friendly match to have a comprehensive understanding of the overall strength of the sky cloud realm and prepare for the battle 10,000 years later. Ryuko said. This reason, Long Chen frowned. This reason was indeed reasonable. But he had an intuition that Ryuko's intention wasn't so simple. Chapter 3965. Ryuko said with a smile, of course, the Tianyun realm can also take this opportunity to observe the background of our divine kingdom. Observe the background of your divine kingdom? Long Chen couldn't help but laugh. This kind of thing was simply impossible. Because the background of the divine kingdom was too deep. For example, the hundreds of thousands of people in front of them might only be the tip of the iceberg of the divine kingdom. Taking a step back. Even if they figured out the strength of the younger generation, how would it help them? Nothing. Because the divine kingdom was different from the Tianyun realm. For the Tianyun realm, the older generation of the divine kingdom was the biggest threat. So, if they wanted to truly understand the background of the divine kingdom, they had to enter the divine kingdom. Brother Long, I have explained the situation. What do you think? Ryuko looked at Long Chen expectantly. Long Chen pondered for a moment and asked, in other words, these rewards are prepared for all the participants? Yes. Whether it is the people of the divine kingdom or the Tianyun realm, as long as they can get into the top 100, they will get the corresponding rewards. Ryuko nodded. Then what are the rules of the competition? Long Chen was suspicious. Since it is a jointly organized friendly competition, the rules are of course decided by both sides. You see, if you agree, then let's find a place to sit down and have a good discussion. Ryuko said. The more Long Chen listened, the more incredulous he felt. The friendly competition was proposed by the divine kingdom, and the rewards were also provided by the divine kingdom. According to common sense, even if the divine kingdom directly set the rules, they couldn't say much. But now, they actually still had the attitude of negotiation. The modesty shown by the divine kingdom was too unreal. Long Chen thought for a moment, looked at Ryuko and Jiang Yunshuang, and said with a smile, I can't make the decision on my own. I have to discuss with others. This is necessary. After all, we have to respect everyone's decision. Especially Qin Feiyang, Golden Wing Wolf King, and Madman Mo. If possible, invite them to come together and discuss the details of the competition with us. Ryuko said. Okay. Long Chen nodded and said with an apologetic smile, then I'll have to trouble you to stay in the land of the buried gods for a while. Or you can go back first and come back later. You're asking us to leave? I still serve TSSS realm. You came all the way here, but you want to chase us away without even seeing the scenery of the heaven cloud world? That's not the way to treat guests. Immediately, someone zzz. Be quiet. Long Zi shouted coldly, and the entire place immediately quieted down. And then, Long Zi looked at him in confusion. Brother Long, why don't you let us enter the heaven cloud world? It's not a big deal. Anyway, you can't enter the sky cloud realm for the time being. After a while, I won't stop you. Long Chen smiled apologetically. All right. Ryuko nodded, turned to look at the hundreds of thousands of people, and said, I'll let Jiang Yunshuang set up a time array. Everyone will rest here first. Remember, without permission, no one is allowed to leave the land of the buried gods without permission. Violators will be killed without mercy. Yes. The group of people respectfully replied. Long Chen looked deeply at Ryuko and said with a smile, then you guys go ahead. Alright. Ryuko nodded. Long Chen nodded and smiled at Jiang Yunshuang, then turned and left. Are we really going to wait here? Jiang Yunshuang looked at Long Chen's back and frowned slightly. Don't act recklessly at this time, otherwise, there will definitely be trouble. Ryuko shook his head. I hope the plan will succeed. Jiang Yunshuang sighed secretly. If the plan really succeeds, won't you be the biggest beneficiary? Ryuko transmitted his voice and looked at Jiang Yunshuang with a smile that was not a smile. Jiang Yunshuang's eyes flashed and said with a smile, if you can really fulfill my wish, I will definitely thank you in the future. I will always remember these words in my heart. Ryuko chuckled and soared into the air. With a wave of his hand, a spirit vein and crystal vein appeared and merged with the earth below. Jiang Yunshuang also waved his hand, accompanied by the emergence of the time array, a huge time array appeared and merged with the earth below. Immediately after, Ryuko waved his hand again. On the earth, mud and gravel were tossed and turned, and mountains thousands of feet high rose from the ground one by one. What is this? Long Chen did not leave. Standing on a distant hill, he looked at this scene from afar. Not only did he bury the spirit vein and crystal vein, but he also created so many mountains. Was he going to treat the core area as their divine kingdom's base in the sky cloud realm? In other words, to stay here for a long time? What was he planning? At this time, Long Chen certainly did not dare to leave and must keep an eye on these people. What if they sneaked out of the land of the buried gods and ran to Sky Cloud Island to cause trouble? After pondering for a while, he asked the heavenly god Sword to convey the situation here to the castle. When the castle told Madman about this matter, Madman was also shocked and immediately contacted Qin Feiyang. Southern Continent. Deep in a mountain, a waterfall poured down from the mountain and merged into a river. The quiet atmosphere, the clear river, and the green mountains made this place like a paradise. In front of the waterfall, a young man was sitting on a bluestone, quietly watching the waterfall, motionless. At first glance, one would think that he was a human-shaped sculpture. This person was Qin Feiyang. He had been standing here for 2 days. Of course, he was definitely not in a daze. He was borrowing the power of nature to feel the aura of life everywhere. Flowers were life, trees were also life. Even water had its own life. However, whether it was flowers, trees, or flowing water, there would be a day when they would wither and evaporate. However, even if they withered and evaporated, it did not mean that they would really disappear from this world. When flowers and trees wither, new buds will sprout in the next year, growing new branches and leaves, blooming even more brilliant flowers. The flowing water evaporated and turned into raindrops, moistening the earth again. Everything in the world had always been in a cycle. Death, rebirth. Rebirth, death. This was the mystery of life and death. Regarding this point, when he entered the Sky Bell Divine Treasure and comprehended the law of life and death, Qin Feiyang had already figured it out thoroughly. And now, he wanted to see something deeper. However, in these 10 years, he did not see it. However, he did not struggle because of this, nor did he force it. After all these years of settling down, his heart seemed to have reached a state where it had no desires. In short, right now, he just had an attitude of letting nature take its course. Old Qin, I didn't want to disturb you, but now there is one thing that you have to help me think about. We can't make up our minds. Suddenly, frenzy's voice rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. What is it? Qin Feiyang finally took a step forward and walked along the river. There was no destination, and there was no need for a destination. He would go wherever he wanted. Frenzy told him about the friendly match in detail. Is that all? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. What the hell? That's all? Did you hear it clearly? The Divine Kingdom took out a total of 1100 law miniatures and 15 ultimate profound meanings as a reward. Is this in line with the character of the Divine Kingdom? Frenzy said angrily. It doesn't. They must have an ulterior motive. But so what? Didn't you always say that we will deal with whatever comes our way? Qin Feiyang laughed. Even so, we are facing the Divine Kingdom after all. Frenzy frowned. If it was the Divine Kingdom, you wouldn't have this confidence? Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Don't provoke me, I won't fall for it. Frenzy snorted and pondered for a moment before saying, get me out of here first. As soon as his voice fell, he felt his body become light, and the next moment, he appeared beside Qin Feiyang. Where is this place? Frenzy looked around. I don't know. Qin Feiyang shook his head. You don't know where you came from? I think you are sleepwalking. Fine. I won't bother you. Since you don't want to ask about this matter, I will go find the white-eyed wolf and Longchen. We will decide for ourselves. Frenzy opened a space-time tunnel and was about to walk in when he suddenly slapped his head and said, get Yun Xiang out too. He has already come out of seclusion, he can't keep hiding in the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. With a thought, Yun Xiang immediately appeared beside him. What's going on? Yun Xiang was still holding a bowl in one hand and a pair of chopsticks in the other. There was also a small bowl of food in the bowl. He looked at Qin Feiyang and Frenzy in shock. What are you doing? Frenzy's mouth twitched. Nonsense. Don't you have eyes? Aren't we eating? Yun Xiang was speechless and continued to eat. Are you a hungry ghost? Frenzy rolled his eyes. This is the food that Father personally cooked for me. The taste of home, Father's love, do you understand? Yun Xiang smiled proudly. Ever since he came out of seclusion and learned that the princess of the Divine Kingdom was in the Great Qin and her life was not in danger, he entered the middle state without worry and reunited with his family. Yes, yes, yes. Come with me, let's do business. Frenzy nodded impatiently and dragged Yun Xiang toward the space-time tunnel. Qin Feiyang looked at this scene and could not help but shake his head with a smile. He also turned and continued to walk toward the end of the river. But after a few steps, he suddenly stopped and turned to look at the dissipating space-time tunnel. The taste of home, this sentence had nothing to do with the law of death, but it stimulated a memory that had been sealed in his mind for a long time. He slowly lowered his head. Pieces of memories kept appearing in his mind. These memories were what happened after he entered the Heaven Bell Divine Treasure and fell into the illusion. Time silently passed. He stood on the surface of the river, motionless. His expression was sometimes confused and sometimes enlightened. It was as if he was in a state of half-understanding. The sun set in the west and dusk gradually arrived. Only at this moment did Qin Feiyang raise his head and look at the setting sun on the horizon. A trace of a smile gradually crept onto his face as he muttered, "So, this is the profundity of facing death and fighting to survive." Then he retracted his gaze, turned around, and gradually disappeared at the end of the river. Chapter 3966. Due to the appearance of the Divine Kingdom, the progress of the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure was also speeding up. At this time, there were 100,000 creatures gathered here. They were the first to arrive at the Heavenly Cloud Island. Although the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure had 10 levels and each level had a large space, it was impossible for all the creatures of the Heavenly Cloud realm to enter. So, the first test was to cross the Heavenly Cloud Sea and arrive at the Heavenly Cloud Island. The Heavenly Cloud Sea couldn't activate the teleportation altar. And for fairness, the Heavenly Cloud Sea couldn't activate the teleportation artifact or the teleportation channel. If found, they would be disqualified on the spot. In short, once everyone entered the Heavenly Cloud Sea, they could only experience many dangers and cross the sea to arrive at the Heavenly Cloud Island. The first 100,000 people to arrive at the Heavenly Cloud Island would be qualified to enter the Heavenly Cloud Divine Treasure. Someone must have said, "Wouldn't the test in the Heavenly Cloud Sea be unfair to creatures with different cultivation levels? For example, the Paragon God Realm, the Ninth Heaven Realm, and the Imperishable Realm. Whether it was speed or strength, they couldn't compare to the Sovereign Realm powerhouses." In fact, this point, the 4 guardian beasts had already thought of it. Now, all the sea beasts in the Heavenly Cloud Sea, except for the beast emperors, would cooperate with the 4 guardian beasts. They would send powerful sea beasts to stop the creatures with strong cultivation levels. As for the weaker creatures, they would send weaker sea beasts to stop them. In other words, although they were all taking the test, the degree of danger was different. The stronger the cultivation level, the greater the danger they faced. Of course, the premise was that they couldn't really hurt the sea beasts of the Heavenly Cloud Sea. You had to have the ability to repel the sea beasts and shatter their bodies, but you absolutely couldn't destroy their souls. This was the limit of Little Rabbit. If anyone dared to kill the sea beasts, then don't blame him for being impolite. Originally, we planned to use 3 years for this trial. But now, there are more than 100,000 people from the Divine Kingdom who came to our Heavenly Cloud Realm, so the trial time was shortened to half a year. The 4 guardian beasts looked at the 100,000 creatures in front of them and said, "More than 100,000 people?" Everyone was surprised. They were training in the Heavenly Cloud Sea, so they didn't know the situation in the land of buried gods. That's right. It's not easy for you to get this opportunity to train. Because it was Long Chen, Long Qin, and the golden-winged Wolf King who risked their lives to stop the Divine Kingdom's army, you have to cherish it. With that, the Azure Dragon waved his hand, and numerous badges appeared before flying toward the 100,000 living beings. These 100,000 living beings. There were humans, Feng people, Kirans, dragons, ferocious beasts, sea beasts, and so on. Almost all of the secluded old antiques of the various races had arrived. As for Elder Hua, the alliance leader, and He Zhongtian, there was no need for them to join in the fun. This was because they had already obtained the law miniatures they needed from Qin Feiyang. However, there were also many disciples and elders from the Heavenly Hall, Demon Hall, Deities Hall, and Rogue Cultivator Alliance. This is the Heavenly Cloud Token. If you encounter any danger, crush the Heaven Cloud Token and you will be able to leave the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury immediately. One last reminder. Don't try to show off. Because in the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury, there are no restrictions on killing. Your companions may become your enemy. The Azure Dragon swept his gaze across the crowd, and with a wave of his hand, the 10 stone doors of the Heaven Cloud Divine Treasury opened one after another. Life and death are ruled by fate. Go! The White Tiger said coldly. The 100,000 living beings immediately rushed toward the stone doors. The secluded old antiques of the various races all entered the 10th floor. The patriarchs and elders of the various races entered the 9th floor. I hope there won't be too many casualties. When the stone doors closed, the Azure Dragon sighed. If you don't try to show off, there won't be any casualties. But if you try to show off, then even if you die, you deserve to die. The White Tiger smiled coldly. I wonder what's the situation in the land of the buried gods now? The Black Tortoise and Vermilion Bird raised their heads and looked in the direction of the land of the buried gods, their eyes filled with worry. Land of the buried gods. On a hill. Frenzy and Yun Xiang appeared silently. They're here. Long Chen smiled and nodded at Yun Xiang. Frenzy and Vermilion Bird nodded and walked up the hill, looking at the group of people from the Divine Kingdom. Looking at the scene in front of them, the two were stunned. Giant peaks rose and fell, and the mountains were filled with dense essence energy. Although there were no flowers or trees yet, with the density of essence energy, in less than half a year, this place would definitely become a paradise full of vitality. What are they doing? Frenzy came back to his senses and looked at Long Chen suspiciously. Long Chen shook his head and smiled. They probably want to use this place as their base camp. What? Frenzy raised his eyebrows. Was this openly occupying the territory of the Sky Cloud Realm? You're not going to stop them? Yun Xiang was suspicious. How can I stop them alone? Besides, you can't slap a smiling face. Their current attitude really makes it impossible for me to do anything. Long Chen smiled bitterly and then asked, "Where's Qin Feiyang?" "Don't worry about him. He's touring the southern continent and doesn't care about what's going on here." But he also said that the Divine Kingdom might have some ulterior motives, so we have to be careful. Frenzy said. Touring the southern continent? Long Chen was stunned and then asked helplessly, "What about the golden-winged wolf king?" "He's not coming." Frenzy said, "I sent him a message and he's now at the Azure Wave Snow Mountain. He told us to do as we see fit and call him if we need him." Sigh. Long Chen sighed again. It was understandable that Qin Feiyang didn't come. After all, he was comprehending the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death. But this wolf cub didn't come. He was just being lazy. Frenzy looked at Ryuko and the others and frowned. Now that they are guarding here, it will be difficult for us to enter the Divine Kingdom. Not necessarily. After all, Qin Feiyang has the concealment art. Yun Xiang shook his head. With the concealment art, it will be difficult to sneak in without being noticed. Look at the gate of the Divine Kingdom. It obviously has its own consciousness. Even if we are invisible, we will definitely be discovered by it. Long Chen said. Then let's just kill our way in. Frenzy laughed. Long Chen and Yun Xiang heard this and couldn't help but roll their eyes. Suddenly, Yun Xiang seemed to have thought of something and turned to Long Chen and said gratefully, "Thank you." Long Chen was stunned and asked in confusion, "Thank me for what?" "Thank you for leaving Master in the Great Qin. This way, I'll have less to worry about." Yun Xiang sighed. "So it's about this." "It's nothing." Long Chen smiled faintly and looked at the two of them. "Then do you think this friendly match should be carried out?" "Yes. Definitely." Frenzy nodded without hesitation. Even if the Divine Kingdom had a conspiracy, how could they refuse such a good thing? "I have an opposing opinion." Yun Xiang pondered for a moment and looked at Frenzy. "Why?" Frenzy was puzzled. The rewards offered by the Divine Kingdom are indeed very tempting. However, the strength of the Divine Kingdom is also stronger than our Sky Cloud realm. In the end, these rewards may all fall into their hands. If they really are plotting something, wouldn't it be a loss if we didn't get the reward and let their scheme succeed? Yun Xiang explained, worried. Yun Xiang's point can't be ignored. If our Sky Cloud realm can get the rewards, even if their conspiracy succeeds and we lose, it won't be much. Long Chen nodded. "Yes. I'm just afraid that in the end, we will lose both our people and our wealth." Yun Xiang looked at Frenzy and sighed. Frenzy laughed and said proudly, "With us here, are you afraid that we won't get the rewards? If we take action, the people of the Divine Kingdom will definitely not be able to stop us." But they might not have thought of this. When the rules of the friendly competition are set, as expected, we will be restricted from participating. Look at our Sky Cloud realm. It's not that I look down on the Sky Cloud realm, but in the current Sky Cloud realm, besides us, who else can compete with the younger generation of the Divine Kingdom? Long Chen shook his head. After the invasion of the Divine Kingdom last time, the overall strength of the Sky Cloud realm was now in a state of shortage. The older generation was too strong. The people of the younger generation were too weak. Not to mention the human race, because the human race was even weaker. Let's talk about the phone people, dragons, and Kirans. Among the young people of the three races, the dragons and the first prince were the strongest. But they didn't even comprehend the ultimate meaning of an ordinary law. In fact, he hadn't even managed to comprehend all of the profound meanings. With such strength, how could they compete with the young people of the Divine Kingdom? Therefore, if they didn't participate in this friendly competition, the Sky Cloud realm would definitely lose. Frenzy scratched his head when he heard that. This was indeed a problem. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he looked at the two and said with a sinister smile, "Don't we still have people on our side who haven't revealed their true strength? You mean the Master Jura, Qi Xiaoyun, and Huo Wu?" Long Chen asked. Huo Wu can't. Last time at the Devil Palace, she displayed the intermediate meaning of the law of karma. But the Master Jura and Qi Xiaoyun haven't made a move yet. The people of the Divine Kingdom don't know their true strength at all, so when the time comes to restrict the participants, they definitely won't be included. Frenzy laughed sinisterly. Do you think others are stupid? When the time comes, they only need to say that those who have grasped the ultimate meaning of the law are not allowed to participate. Then Qi Xiaoyun and senior brother will be in vain. Yun Xiang rolled his eyes at Frenzy. What a naive idea. Are you stupid? As long as Qi Xiaoyun and the Master Jura don't use the ultimate meaning of the law, everything will be fine. Frenzy said. No. Last time, senior brother went everywhere with you to impart knowledge. The people of the Divine Kingdom will be able to easily find out. As for Qi Xiaoyun, you also know that the Qilin race isn't united. What if a selfish person like Qi Xiong appears and leaks the information? At that time, we will be shooting ourselves in the foot. This problem needs to be solved from the root. In other words, we have to participate in the competition personally to have a chance of obtaining the rewards. Yun Xiang said. He had considered all aspects. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.